אתם רואים יותר מטומטם?
It reminded me of when somebody called the police. Somebody called the police
myself.
and they said, "Hi, officer," and they said, "What's your problem?" And the guy said, "I'm a drug dealer and I just got robbed." The police said, "Okay, we'll be right over."
No, there is actually a movie about from bad cops about someone that complaining that she got robbed from her drugs. So the officer literally asked her, "Are you out of your fucking mind? You telling me that somebody robbed you out of your drugs?"
People are that smart.
יש לי סיפור. חלק שמעו את זה בטח. שמע ישראל. על השכן שלי, סתם זה הזכיר את זה, אז מי ששמע את זה לא נורא. היה לי שכן חרדי, הוא ואשתו גרו מעלינו בקומה שנייה. וזה שבת אחת הם לא היו בבית, וכשהוא חזרו במוצא שבת הם גילו שהחלון היה פתוח ושמישהו גנב להם כסף מהבית. דיירים! אז הוא קרא למשטרה, למחרת בבוקר המשטרה באה כאילו, והתחילה לקחת טביעות אצבע בבית, כאילו, מז"פ ועניינים. והתחילו לגעת בארונות וזה, בקיצור פתחו לו את הארונות מטבח ומצאו שם מעבדה של סמים. אז במקום למצוא לו את מי שגנב לו את הכסף מהבית, פשוט הורידו אותו באזיקים. לא נגיע לי קצת האחוז פרמודה.
מה? מה?
את בסתלה.
כן, אני מוכרחה לצחוק, אני לא נרגעה. זה כיף.
שרק תצחקי כל החיים.
Abdul, are you there?
אני לא עושה זלוק בקפה, חכי, אמרתי לה, חכי. צמתמת.
וואי, אתן שתיכן, עגל וצ'קל.
אוי מלא. אני כאילו בראש שלי משחזרת את מה שנאמר, וזה עוד פעם מצחיק אותי. כולם עושים את זה כמוני?
בטח, זה בלאוויה.
וואלה, זו הייתה הפעם הראשונה שנפתחתי ככה בעניין מין.
נו, אבל זה בדיוק העניין, לשחזר את מה שנאמר.
בהחלט נפתח.
תרתי משמע.
תגידי, את גנחת תוך כדי?
אני לא זוכרת.
תמיד גונחת, זאת אומרת, לא יודעת.
באוטו, אני לא יודעת, כאילו, הם שמעו רעשים, אז אני מניחה שכן.
הם לא שמעו רעשים, הם עשו שם פטרול או משהו, ואז אמרו רכב, ואמרו, אני אבדוק אותו.
זה מה שאת חושבת.
או שהאוטו תפתח כל דקה. מה?
גם שלך, בחשיפה של האוטו.
אוי, אוי.
Apple is really good about like giving you your money back subscriptions.
איזה מצחיק, אנחנו המדינה היחידה שיודעת מתי מגיע טיל ולא יודעת מתי מגיע האוטובוס.
Fantastic. So do you want to catch up or you want to jump in?
I'm gonna catch up. So catch up. I have my breakfast and coffee right.
You said breakfast and coffee? CEO, go ahead, man.
I love it. Is coffee, is that Brooklyn or Boston? With but she says call me like that. Probably a combination, right?
She's a New York City girl, 100%.
Okay, cool.
That's why she has the green bean, not the fact that she's beautiful, but she is.
Let's run with it. Now, I just was going to add to what Nye and the other gentleman said. And I think, JB, you asked a really good question, man. A lot of times we have these conversations, but don't consider the linguistics of it, man. We're usually arguing about stuff and are actually processing the words and their definitions differently than the person that we're arguing with. So setting up level playing field in the languaging or the nomenclature, I think, is a good thing. So with racism, the reason I think it's taken out of context a lot of times is because most of the definitions, if you really read it, and how some academics speak it, is it means having the institutional power to do something with your prejudice. And so most people don't think about it like that, right? So we throw it around. So racism, bias, implicit bias, prejudice, all of these words are used interchangeably, but they technically mean different things.
Thank you, Seal. Hey guys, give me a second. Please don't bring up this idiot Funk. He's out of his mind. Leave him down there. So, Alaska, before I go to you, we have two beautiful women on stage, each named after a state. We got Alaska and we got Nebraska. So let me say good morning to Nebraska real quick. Nebraska, how you doing?
Good morning, JB. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing amazing. It's a great day to be alive.
Yes, it is, and it's better that you're here. So do you want to chime in on the conversation, Nebraska?
Yeah, okay. I actually wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what Alaska was saying. And I like what she said, but I feel like there's a couple nuances that I could maybe potentially add that may or may not be helpful. So there is this concept that I want to introduce to you all, and it is called the accusatory fatigue cycle. And it's a psychological phenomenon, we can say, that you could observe it across any type of group. But I believe that this would particularly be able to explain why sometimes we see what we see among white individuals in the context of like them saying, oh, I'm experiencing, fatigue. And basically what happens is accusatory fatigue cycle. You have repeatedly let me see. How can I write this? Okay, it's when like a group of people, particularly we'll use white people for case to apply it to white people in the racial dialogue, right? They constantly get accused of a negative moral trait, like let's say racism or white privilege or white guilt or something like that, right? And it's not based on their particular actions. It's talking about based on the group. So a lot of white people are gonna come in, the form of, it's gonna be told to them like, hey, look, you're complicit in white supremacy. You're a white supremacist. You're a racist. You're privileged. It doesn't matter. You're benefiting from oppression. And when these white people start to, like, I think at first, they're going to want to try to engage. So they're going to read about it. They're going to try to learn a little bit more about it. And then they're going to get into the conversation because they're going to get curious about it. But then what's happening is they are not met with any type of solution. They're not met with first, there's no encouragement. So they're instead like, when they get more curious or if they start to push back because they're challenging and trying to make sense of what they're learning, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's, it doesn't even matter. Your empathy is insufficient. Your allyship is performative, whatever it might be. Your silence is violence. There's a bunch of shit that I've heard, right? And what happens is over time, this is going to create an emotional exhaustion, and it's going to create like a sense of futility. And they're going to be like, you know what? If I'm going to be labeled a racist no matter what, if I'm going to be accused of having, white privilege and that I'm complicit in this white supremacy, the classical psychological aspect of learned helplessness happens. And that's just what repeated like failure leads to when someone's trying to stop something. So basically, because we have a lot of times in these discussions, we don't have a descriptive a descriptive guideline to what white people can do. We don't offer them like these are the things that you can specifically do in your life today that can change. They start to experience what's another psychological phenomenon, because this is what the accusatory fatigue cycle is. They experience reactance. So it's okay, and so that is a psychological pushback against feeling morally coerced. So then they're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna. They just end up withdrawing and resenting the conversation altogether, not because they reject justice, but because they're no longer feeling that there's a path to moral dignity for them in it, and a frustration with it all. So I think overall, and I'll land here, is I think that it's not that the white fatigue, because I do believe, I do agree with Alaska. I'm not sure it's so much fragility as much as it's rooted in something deep, like a deeper psychological reaction to feeling being like morally damned by default. But the good thing is that it can be broken by just offering opportunity and an honest dialogue and a place for them to go and to make the changes, so they don't have to feel that way.
Thank you, Nebraska. Man, I love when you share, but I don't know how you don't pass out from a lack of oxygen, because you talk like a New Yorker. You're so fast. But hold on, Nicholas, because I want to go to Alaska, and then I'll come to you. Alaska, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah. I'm really, really interesting what Bima said. I was just telling him, what was I going to say? Oh my goodness, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, when I was learning about words and things, I learned that even the word racism, the ism implies system. So sexism, racism. I can't think of any other examples. Weird, but just to throw that in.
You want me to come back to you?
Oh no, it's just mainly that. And also adding to what Bina said, the idea of cognitive dissonance is a subject I find super interesting. And it's very hard because you go between obviously wanting to educate people but wanting to keep your peace in certain areas. It feels like it's an education thing that really should be discussed. But anyway, I'm going to stop there. Sorry.
No, you're good, Alaska. Thank you. So let me just address two things in the chat. Anybody that engages with Frank, you're on your own. He's an idiot. I wouldn't even address this idiot. And chillism sucks. Fuck chillism. Bunch of racist assholes in there. Just my opinion. The great Nicholas, how you doing?
So, Mother Superior is here. Hi, the great JB. So, I got a couple of things. So, do you suffer from racial fatigue? Yeah, this app is, I'm exhausted. Like, I've reached a point where I just don't care. And I think maybe that is, becoming desensitized to certain things. Like, people say horrendously racist things, and I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday. And I used to be like, oh, wow, look at these people. How could they say these things? And then I'm like, oh, this is just another one of those people on Clubhouse. And I don't know if that's healthy to not even flinch anymore. Also, another thing I'm getting into. Oh, fuck, am I in the Matrix?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so another thing I'm becoming desensitized to is the whole Israel situation. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about them. They're 1,000 miles away from me and have no impact on my life. Why do I care so much about Israel? So that's another thing. And then the third thing is just like subtly racist things. Like, you can run an analysis in your brain sometimes, like, is this even worth my time to address? And for me, it's just, the answer is increasingly becoming no. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, the great Nicholas. I'm going to say, man, I've been on this app 5 years, right? Since the beginning. I'm an OG. And at the beginning, man, people would say covert racial undertones, right? They would say things you're like, wait, what does he or she mean? Now it's the Wild West. People will say whatever the fuck they want. They don't care. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people who say those things actually mean those things. That's how they really feel. Right? And this gives them a platform. Frankie, I'm not bringing you up, you moron. JT, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, JB. No, you made an excellent point right there too. I would say I experienced the same thing to where now it is just certain rooms. You could just expect to get what you're gonna get when you go in there. But I wanted to kind of speak to what the sister was saying earlier about what white people can do. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be brief in just saying I think on a macro level, and I know you have a lot of these rooms. I think reparations is obviously the next step is comparative justice. But on a micro level, right now with this administration, we're seeing a lot of changes taking place that affect, Black people in general. We've seen them wipe away affirmative action. We've seen them with the DEI hiring rhetoric. It's always an attack on Black Americans, right? We see them with now, what is it that he's doing now? Oh yeah, when he first got in, he was trying to wipe away funding to HBCUs. He was trying to get rid of blacks in the military, Black history. I mean, there's just a whole host of things that have taken place since Trump office, and our white quote unquote allies have been silent about it. I've seen almost no pushback. So I guess the question I'm asking, if people are really serious about an allyship, trying to find out what can be done to help Black people, I mean, we can start with just the things that you do have the power to change. You are the majority, right? If you speak out on things, people are at least going to listen. You're at least going to have media attention. On your jobs, where you're seeing, that are taking place in administration, just I'm sorry, I know y'all can hear that. Just subtle things like that, where you can be effective, just trying to be a decent human being. I think people can start there.
Wait, I have a question for JT.
Hold on, Nye. Let me just say something. I brought Frank up. We're going to let him speak after you guys have this dialogue, and I'm going to show you why this guy's a moron. Okay?
I know. I'll make this quick, and this is in response to JT's submission, and anyone else in the stage or in the chat can address this as well. JT, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. I mean, the narrative has long been that Black people benefit the least from DEI and affirmative action, that the primary benefactors of these initiatives, these programs, have long been white women. So, A, what do you think about that narrative? And B, if that is true, if the numbers and data and per capita and all these other terms we like to quote prove that that's true, how does the dismantling of DEI and affirmative action impact Black folks?
Well, I would say that both are true. I am aware of that. I think my overall point is that, I'm sorry, I'm driving out the shopping here. I think the overall point in that is that if we know that these things have a negative effect on the Black community that we say that we're allying with, because I mean, that was one component of the overall statement. When we consider what he was doing with the Black military, when we consider what he was doing, wiping away the history of Black success out of the American annals of history, right? It all fits. That's just one part of it. And the point that overall point that I was making is that if we see these things are happening as an American society, and we submit to the idea that we're supposed to be morally just, justice for all, equality. If we're saying we're moving past racism and all of these things, where are all the white people to stand up and say, wait a minute, these Black Americans who've been here since the beginning, fought in every war, who've been citizens in this country, they have a right to be a part of this history. And we need to stop, trying to ostracize them from American society and constantly attacking them racially. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I would say those two things, DEI and affirmative action, are really just parts of an overall bigger problem when it comes to what's taking place with this administration, how it's affecting Black.
JT, let me say something here. Yeah, I agree that other communities can definitely do more for the Black community, but it's been my lived experience from what I've seen it, and if it don't apply, people let it fly. The Black community, in my opinion, hasn't been very welcoming to help from other communities. And that's fine. They want to do it on their own. They want to, whatever that is, that's fine. But I got to tell you, bro, like I get, you know how much smoke I get for opening these rooms? 1,000,000%. I get so much smoke. How dare this white man in the corner even bring up issues and talk about the black community? Well, maybe I want to learn about the black community. But before we continue, JT, let me ask their esteemed Frank. Frank, are you there? Frank.
I'm here.
Do you want to chime in on this stimulating conversation? Do you suffer from racial fatigue?
Can you repeat what you said? Because it's pretty complicated. Because I'm not full vacuum.
Why would you come to the stage if you don't know what we're talking about?
I can talk. I can talk, but I can.
Well, then talk on the subject. What are we talking about? Do you suffer from racial fatigue? Yes or no?
Yeah, I can speak.
You see, this is what I warn people about this moron. Nobody listens to me. All right, go sit in the audience. Have another bottle of wine, fucking moron. B, good morning, B.
Yeah, good morning.
What up, B-licious?
Hello, 99. Hi.
B, do we suffer from racial fatigue?
I personally don't after leaving Oregon. I'll be honest, every time I go to like a blue state, even though New York is a blue state, New York is different because people are about their business, doing what they have to do. But being in Oregon, it's just, I do suffer from fatigue because there's always so many questions. Is that your hair? Are those your lips? Explain this to me. What's your thoughts on George Floyd? I'm like, okay, you know what? I just wanted to come and have a roasted tomato bagel. Okay, it's just with a chai tea. Like, go Google this stuff. So no, in New York I don't have racial fatigue. In Oregon I'm wore out, honey. Child, I'm worn out. I'm tired.
Thank you, B. Vera, did you want to push back on the blacks being moved out of the military?
I just questioned it. Is that true? I tried to look it up, but I didn't find any evidence on it. I mean, when I was in the military, we had lots of black people. I think, I grew up as such a sheltered lifestyle. I grew up on a farm most of my life in Texas. So it was just me and my immediate family. And then just all them mainly like a Mexican area. And so, like, honestly, my very first black friend was in the military. Because it just wasn't in the neighborhood, right? Mostly Latin. So, like, are black people being pushed? Actually, like systematically, whichever. Are they being pushed out of the military? Because if so, that's a problem. And if not, then I don't know where we're getting that information from.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, that black people were being put. I'm sorry, CEO. CEO, was that?
I was just gonna say, I don't know about push out of the military. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Somebody jumped in there. Go ahead.
No. I'm kind of in a bad area, so y'all might not be able to hear me, brother. So if you got something to say, go ahead.
I was just going to say the reports that I heard, Vero, Nye, and JB, were that I know factually what happened is that he took several black heroes from Tuskegee Airmen to Buffalo Soldiers and black people that had defended the country down from government websites. And then I think somebody challenged them, and then he put a couple of them back up. He just took Martin Luther King out of the White House. There was a bust of Martin Luther King out of the White House. Obviously, he took Obama out, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, there's definitely a movement with this administration to erase black history, to the accomplishment of noble black soldiers.
CEO, you know what's crazy, though? And I'm not disputing what you're saying, but what's crazy to me is he has no problems changing these forts back to Confederate general names.
Yeah, well, that's a part of it. That's what I'm saying. He's whitewashing everything. It's almost like the lost cause. If people are familiar with the lost cause, the short note on it is after Confederacy died, the lost cause was a narrative or movement to basically whitewash it and make it seem like it wasn't about slavery, and to make all of the people who fought in the Confederacy that were anti-American seem like noble heroes, and to turn it into a thing about culture. And that was basically establishing the names of all these, just like JB said, all these military bases, statues with Confederate heroes, right? That was the lost cause. He's doing a new version of that. He's erasing Black history and reestablishing all of the movement of the lost cause. So he's literally working like he's a part of the Confederacy to me, from states' right to reestablishing Confederate heroes, to erasing Black people, to banning Black countries, literal with federal bans, to use verbiage and coded words like DEI, woke, and BLM to discriminate against people of color. This is not theoretical. This is factual. I will respond to a point that you made earlier. You spoke to white women being the chief beneficiaries of the diversity and inclusion program. Well, for what it was worth, it also eliminated benefits for people who are disabled, and a part of that group of legislation, and all other minorities. So yes, if white women in one sector of that, because there's multiple sectors, did get benefits, then that means the system needed to be reformed. So demolishing it doesn't help. So they give us so many talking points to excuse their blatant and overt racism, right? And so, white women benefited a lot. Okay, cool. Because women were traditionally left out of a lot of contracts. I owned a business, right, where we partnered with different companies in a particular sector to bid for government opportunities, right? That whole business model, which is only one element, is completely busted, because now those majority businesses that might be friends with the people that Trump are friends with, they have no need to even have 5% of those billion and trillion dollar government contracts be associated with a minority vendor that's certified. And so it literally busted a lot of wealth from the government by being able to provide services. So if white women were a part of the last point I'll make after this point, white women were the beneficiaries, it still doesn't remove the fact that Black people obviously were able to get into businesses that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get in because they were locked out. And that's across the board when you really think about it. I'll just stop there and let somebody else speak.
Thank you, Sia. Hold on, JT, because Moose has been patiently waiting. I think he wants to push back on the Army thing. Good morning, Moosey.
Hey, JB. Thank you, man. The mod of mods. Guys, we agree to disagree, but you're a top mod. And I'll say, I think it was Vero and who would ask in the chat about, he's not like he's not dismissing massive troops of color, but he's doing it. He did it strategically. The biggest shakeup he did in the Pentagon was firing Air Force General, not only Air Force General, a decorated fighter pilot, 40 years of service, Air Force General C.Q. Brown, but he was also the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Like, he's in the war room talking about Ukraine, talking about the Middle East, and he, I believe, was only the second Black military personnel to hold an esteemed position. And essentially, it was a major shakeup, and Trump's rebuttal was essentially, it was the DEI thing. We're talking about an impeccable record, and he was dismissed. I think a year and a half after he was appointed. So it's not hundreds of Black soldiers that he's firing, but when you fire somebody at that level, that sends a message. That sends a really strong message. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Moose. Before I go to JT, I just got to make two quick announcements. This is really a pop-up room when my puppy's at the groomer. So when I have to pick him up, I'm going to close it down. Moose, you don't have to go down. A second thing, Vera, respectfully, that PTR is fire. JT, guy, JT.
Real quick, JB. I shared in the chat too that the military before Trump, they did an annual. They used to hire Black engineers into the military. They would do that annually. There's an article talking about it there where, because of, once again, the DEI, where Black engineers had an opportunity. There was something that the military had set up a while back that they were doing annually, where they were able to hire from black universities. He shut that down as well, and just certain little things, as everybody else mentioned, where he's specifically targeting, black servicemen and black servicewomen. You know what I'm saying? Just to say, the brother he just mentioned, I wasn't even aware of him, but to have that type of tenure for somebody just to come in who's not a part of the military and just say, oh, no, all your accomplishments, it's all DEI, and just fire them. I mean, that's what we mean when we say, when people see these type of things, like, where are you? Where's your voice? And at the same time, some of those same people who would agree with that, as he mentioned and as you mentioned, will be the same ones whining and crying about Confederate generals who, committed treason against the United States government and tried to take it down, will be celebrated back, in their minds. I think it's just, those are the type of conversations that should be had with our quote unquote.
Thank you. Let me just jump in real quick, guys. Two seconds. So, Sarah, I'm going to say something respectfully, right? Because we share a lot of spaces together. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you, right? You do say a lot of racist shit. I don't know if you give a fuck or not, right? But here's the deal. Iran is under attack by Israel. Your people are being oppressed and suppressed by the Iranian regime. And I've heard you in these rooms, basically want people to feel bad for your people. But when you come out of the side of your mouth and say anti-black things, yeah, that's kind of hypocritical to me. I'm sorry, I just got to say what it is. Let's go to Vera, then CEO, then Keith.
Yeah, for sure. My experience in the military, it doesn't just revolve around my personal experience in the military. My mother's a Marine. My two brothers, my two sisters are Marines. Grandfather was in the Army. It's just uncle. You can't put your arms too far out in my family without hitting someone who served, right? Continuously, my 18-year-old niece just joined the Marine Corps. So, this whole decorated, and I'm decorated. I'm very decorated. You know what I'm saying? If you're in the military for 40 years, you are decorated. You are established. You cannot be in the military for 40 years without being an outstanding individual. Another thing in the military they try to teach us, is that it's not racist here, it's not gendered here. They do teach us women how to bend down, quote unquote, correctly, so we don't entice the men, of course. So what I'm saying is I don't put it past them to do some racist ass shit, if it doesn't fit their agenda. I talked about this yesterday. If you move in the military, if you move away from the agenda, they push you out quick. So my sentiment is, although I have not seen that with my own eyes, I did get out of the military in 2015, so during Obama. So it was a different world, right? We haven't even pulled out of Afghanistan just yet. I had just gotten home from Afghanistan, so it was a different world. But today, I don't know. Maybe because they don't fit, because they're black and they don't fit into the agenda, we can call it racism. But even if they were white and they weren't fitting into the agenda, they'd be pushed out the same way, I believe, honestly. Or Latin.
Well, I have to say, Ms. Vera, respectfully, if you don't want to entice men, don't wear that dress, because fine. Just gotta say
I'm out now, so I'm gonna entice all y'all motherfuckers.
It's working. But I'm gonna go to CEO, and then I want to welcome Keith and Sarah to the stage. CEO.
I think I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Oh yeah, I was just going to mention that there's a librarian. Oh, yeah, I got it. The librarian, obviously, similar to the general that the gentleman just mentioned. Thank you for the point about that general. I'm familiar with that. I want to even get into my family members that were discriminated against, that had long-standing positions in high rank in the government and in the military. But yeah, that person was done wrong, and he's so decorated. Similar situation with the head librarian at the National Library. She has a decorated career, has every degree you could ever think of, survived several different Republican and Democratic regimes, and Trump fired her and just literally appointed to be the head of the National Library, a lawyer with basically zero experience working in law anywhere. And the only thing that he has is he's just white. So when we talk about the racism and discrimination against our culture, and the removal of DEI, he's using DEI. He's using diversity, equity, and inclusion. He's just using it now exclusively for white people. And I think he's literally exploiting the white fatigue and with hearing the word racism. I think he literally plays into that. And that's one of the main reasons that people support him, because it's given license to say things that they've already feel with this fatigue. So I think the room title is a really good point. But at the end of the day, I just mentioned these 3 points and I'm done. The interns for both of his terms in office, if you just look at the picture of the interns, right? And then look at every other president for the past 4 years, you see different flavors of people. His interns, only white. Literally, there might be one black person out of 100. His cabinet, traditionally only white. So yeah, there's diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's just gone and swung the pendulum back to the other side, and it's white or Confederate.
Thank you, CEO. So Keith, I know you were here first, but I definitely want to go to Sarah because she's not very patient. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hey, I want to say something though. I think you're messing with me, JB. So that's why.
No. I meant what I said.
Can you give me a couple of stuff that I've said that's racist?
That black people. I've heard you say you're tired of hearing black people complain about handouts.
Does that make me racist?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why? That just makes me someone who lacks compassion. If you think black people have a right to complain, and I'm tired of that, that means Sarah has lack of compassion. She has no empathy. That doesn't mean I'm racist. Look right now, Theo, he literally labeled me and said Sarah's racist. The only thing I wrote in the chat was, is the new narrative that they're kicking black people out of military, and he writes in the chat.
I know what he wrote, Sarah. This is not our first rodeo with you. This is not the first day that you wrote something that would be inflammatory. So look, listen, you're entitled to your opinion. You can say whatever you like. I let you into my spaces. I come into your spaces sometimes. But you're not immune from being called out on your bullshit either, just because you got pretty privilege.
Thank you for calling me pretty, but JB, you and I might have complete opposite view on systemic racism. You believe we have systemic racism. Sarah believes we don't have. You believe we owe reparation to people who were not slaves. I don't believe I owe reparation to anybody. I'm a person of color myself, so we have different points of views, but to go around and call me racist,
well, because I didn't call you a racist, but you say racial things. But you have this ideology, right, that reparations is just for slavery. When it's beyond slavery, it's about redlining, school to prison pipeline, all the oppression that the black community has felt. See, you maybe wherever you went to school, you weren't taught this stuff. You know what taught me this stuff? Real life experience, Sarah. So there is a systemic racism. Maybe not in your little ivory tower in California, but here in America, there's definitely systemic racism. Just listen to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about this with you because I don't know what to tell you, how to respond to you. As a woman who's person of color, Middle Eastern, lived in Texas in the 80s when with their religious parents, where I've actually seen what discrimination looks like. This is the thing. I'm not playing victim though. The people who just try to always assume they know other people's everything, including their past and their experience, and it's just crazy. But I think, JB, you just felt like you want to fire up the room or something. I do have a conference call. I have to.
Wait a second. Why when I say what I feel, that's not okay? I'm just firing up the room. But you say what you feel, and that's okay. And listen, I'm just going based on what you've said in past rooms, in my rooms, and other rooms. See here, Sarah, this is what makes me. And I'm gonna be 100 with you. One of the best mods in Zap. You ready? I pay attention when people speak. I also read the chat. But like I said, this is America. Welcome to the country. Whatever. You're fifth generation. I don't give a fuck. You're entitled to your opinion. But I'm also entitled to push back on it. And that's how I feel. So we're gonna go popcorn style. Thank you for coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to Keith real quick. Sorry for the delay, Keith. How you doing?
Good morning, JB.
Good morning, man. Listen, Keith, I'm not trying to dox you, but I've heard your story a few times. I think more people should pay attention to you. The mic is yours.
I appreciate it, JB. Peace to the room. I just wanted to say, man, I've been tired of it a long time ago, like when I was 8 years old. But I come to the conclusion that, what don't kill you make you stronger. And I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. So I just call it like a challenge for all of us that have been oppressed, and whoever you are, black, white, Chinese, classism, whatever it is, to use it as motivation.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate that. So let me say, I just need you to mute up, my friend, because I get feedback. Thank you. I need to go to one specific person. My sister from another Mr. PB. Guys, if you have racial fatigue, she's a licensed psychologist. She will have a one-on-one session with you for free. This is how generous this woman is. She don't care what color you are. She don't care what religion you are. She looks forward to it. So guys, please reach out to BB. She runs a room called the Back Room. Run into that room. Share your thoughts. Alaska, you want to say something?
Sorry, no, I just, I feel like we should hype them up, get them paid. I don't know. It's all good.
Thank you, Alaska. Let me welcome Tori to the stage. Good morning, Tori. Tori, are you there? All right. Good morning, Dave. How you doing, Dave? Dave?
There we go.
There you are.
Good morning, everybody.
Dave, I need you to do me a favor, bro. I need you to cash in that pink ticket.
Yes.
But go ahead. Do you want to chime in? I'm sorry?
How do I do this?
He's new to the app, clearly.
Yes, I've been listening, but I've never really. This is
okay. So this is what you do. You're gonna see where it says "Healthy Debates" up above. You click that, and you join the house. But do that when you're done speaking. Did you want to?
Okay.
Do you want to join?
I did. I can, as far as racial fatigue, of course, every black person's experienced that, or should I say, a lot of Black Americans. I just wanted to put a little.
You're in the Matrix, young man. I can't hear you. Dave, you're in the Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah, your service is not great, bro. So it's coming in and out for us.
Oh, jeez. Okay, it could be.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. No worries. It's my fault. So I'll sit aside and serve it.
Thank you for that. I don't even know. I could barely hear you.
Just try to if you get better service, make sure you have full bars or connect to Wi-Fi, and then come back and try again.
Tori, good morning, Tori.
Hello, just listening right now.
Okay, if you want to jump in, just give me the thumbs up. You can still do thumbs up. You can't raise your hand. Guys, we're going to go popcorn style. If the other mods want to run it for a few minutes, I'd appreciate it. Oh, we got Jordan on stage. Dr. Jordan, the clubhouse zoologist. How you doing, Jordan? Jordan?
How are you?
You're here, so I'm doing something right. So, Jordan, do you suffer from racial fatigue?
No, I don't. But I mean, I think this is a great conversation, but I think we have to keep in mind that there are all kinds of things that different segments of the population are subjected to, right? Like, if you're the scapegoat in your family, you've been bullied your whole life. You're bullied by immediate family members, extended family members, outsiders. You likely have complex PTSD due to relational trauma, interpersonal trauma. You know, you could be Jewish in this day and age. I just had someone on my podcast yesterday who's a distinguished professor at WashU, and she was talking about how she was very much, she's quite liberal, but she's seen so much anti-Semitism on college campuses that she's just astounded by it, and she's actually in a position to make changes. So, and she's a 4-time degree holder from Harvard, so she's also involved with helping Harvard. In fact, it was once thought of as the establishment, now it's thought of as the resistance. So, I mean, things change. It's not to say that we don't have to honor that people are definitely have succumbed, that people definitely succumb to systemic racism. But I think on an interpersonal level, we all are dealing with a lot of toxic people because there's so much dichotomous thinking. You're either this or there's no middle ground. So the world's in a crazy place, and be kind to each other.
Thank you, Jordan. Guys, we're going to go popcorn style. If you want to speak, just grab the mic. What's up, Rohan?
I just want to say thank you to whoever just spoke. That was very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question for my friend. You wrote in the chat that it's not racist to use the N-word. Can you expound upon that?
Sure. Yeah, I think that in general, it could be, anyway, it could be construed as racist in the modern definition of racism for sure. But I think that it could certainly be used in a joking way without having hatred in your heart for Black people. It could also be used in an academic way. Like, I'm not going to use it right now, but if I were to use, for example, the N-word just in a conversation, not invoking it or saying like, you dirty fucking N-word, I think that if you say it with hate in your heart, it brings me back to the age-old Clubhouse topic that I love to discuss, which is, does sucking a dick make you gay? And I think that there are ways that you could suck a dick without being gay. For example, if somebody forced their dick into your mouth, just because you're sucking, or somebody had to suck a dick to save your mother's life, you're not enjoying sucking the dick, so you're not gay.
Is this from personal experience?
No, just purely theoretical. But my point is, the thing that makes the N-word racist is the hatred that you have in your heart for Black people. And I think if you say it in an academic or a joking way, if you don't actually hate Black people, then you're not racist.
Can I ask you a question?
Do you have any hatred in your heart for Black people?
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask you. I want to ask him a question.
Sorry. This is a thought experiment. I'm not threatening anyone, but just because I'm of the belief that that effect matters more than intent. So, for example, if I punched you in the face and then as hard as I could, and then your nose is bleeding, you're like, oh, what the fuck? And I was like, oh God, sorry, I thought you were someone else. Is your face hurting less?
No, of course, and that's a good point. I mean, I'm familiar with the argument. The counter argument is that impact matters more than intention. So even if I didn't punch you in the face, if I complimented your hair, but you had recently changed your hair, I don't even know if you're white or Black or Asian or whatever, but if I go up to a Black lady who recently changed her hair and I'm like, hey, I love your hair, that could even potentially, especially depending on the tone of voice or my level of relationship with her, or if I was like, hey, I love your hair, can I get a feel? Can I touch your hair? Yeah. I'm complimenting her, but it's a microaggression, and so the impact of my action is actually harmful. I understand that argument for sure, but I think that using the N-word jokingly is not as harmful as punching somebody in the face, and not even a breach. Like, touching somebody's hair is not punching them in the face, but I think that touching somebody's hair is inherently more harmful than the N-word, because I would never touch a stranger's body or even my friend without their permission. I don't want to touch anybody's body without their permission. Exactly. I don't want to enter anybody's personal space.
So why do you, as a white man, though, feel the need to use the N-word with intent? Like, what does that mean for you? Are there no racial slurs of your own that you can kind of use and crack a joke with? Because at that point, it seems intentional and it's weird.
Yeah, especially publicly. That's the only point I get really, really stuck on as well, because it's like, you could be joking around, but you don't know who else is going to hear that.
I really want to know if you can answer my question. What do you get out of using the word, my friend?
I think that under certain circumstances, there are a lot of different racial slurs. I would say all racial slurs could be funny under certain circumstances. I mean, I'm academically trying to defend the use of crass humor, and so it's kind of a challenging position. But I could give you an example if I can. JB, do I have your permission not to say the N-word, but do I have your permission to say the K word in the use of referencing?
I can't stop you from saying anything. But
okay, so do you guys know this term, JB? You probably know this term, Yiddishkeit. With a T, Yiddishkeit?
Yeah, do me a favor, Zach. Engage with the other mods. I have nothing to say to you. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll just be brief. There is a term, Yiddishkeit, which I believe is a Yiddish word, Yiddishkeit. And it means like, basically like the greater Jewish community or like the Jewish way of doing things, or, it's a term that refers to Jewish community and Jewish practice. So you could say like, here we are in Yiddishkeit because you're like having lunch with your Jewish friends. Or you could say like, oh, that's part of the Yiddishkeit, referring to some teaching from the Torah. It's like, oh, that's just Yiddishkeit. It's more of the...
Are you a complete idiot? Like, did you wake up this morning and fall on your head? Like, I just have to ask the question.
I'm trying to say,
guys, I gotta go, but let me just finish my idea really quick, just to not dangle on a cliffhanger.
No, don't go. I got questions too.
I know, but I have to go to work at noon. I gotta run out the door. But the joke that sometimes I make with my friend Randy on this app is he says, "Oh, Yiddishkeit," and I say, "Oh, I know you don't like Yiddishkeiks." Because the joke is he's an anti-Semite, and I'm like, yeah, you don't really fuck with the Yiddishkeiks, do you? And the joke is really funny because kike sounds like kite with a T, and so I know the word is Yiddishkeit, but it's also funny to be like, here I am with the Yiddishkeiks, and it's just a funny racial joke. Anyway, I gotta go, but I will be.
Would you let a black person use that word?
For sure, yes, for sure.
You think black people should use that word, and your community won't get offended?
I don't want to should all over you. Saying the word should is pretty tricky, but I certainly don't have a problem with it. But I gotta go, and I'll be back later. Thank you, JB. I appreciate you.
Everybody, hold on. No, you don't. You're a piece of shit. But let me say hello to Rohan real quick. Good morning, Rohan.
What the fuck have I walked into, Jay?
You walked into one of my typical rooms.
No, it was going. Hey, JB. No, hell no. Until he started talking, it was going pretty good.
Well, listen, it starts off great, and then we get to Zach and the other races coming in, justifying their thoughts.
Hysterical. Yeah, look, I like. Very interesting topic. Have people been speaking on the topic itself?
Yeah, we actually been having a great conversation, but he likes to come in and center himself around his racist views. It's like playing with your food, Rohan. But we can get back to the conversation. I'm actually going to be leaving in a few minutes. I got to go pick up my puppy.
Show us a picture, please.
You want a picture of my puppy? I'll show you a picture of my puppy.
Yeah, show us the puppy, all right. And by the way, I'm just popping in. It's like 1:45 in the morning over here, so I'll be heading off to sleep very shortly.
Thank you, Rohan. So look for a picture. His name is Enzo. Let me say good morning to Black Rage. Black Rage, how you doing?
I am that I am.
Okay. Did you want to chime in on the conversation?
I came up because something was being said, but I see you guys don't necessarily rock with the last idiot that was speaking. That was pretty idiotic. I don't understand that sentiment, but nonetheless, what do you mean by racial fatigue? What specifically are you talking about? Because as a black man in America, shit, I've had racial fatigue all my life. So what are you referring to as racial fatigue?
Really, we just want to hear what you have to say about it. So, it seems like you're going to have a lot to say about it.
Oh, no, I don't have too much to say about it. I don't have too much to say about it. I just don't. I got an echo. I just wanted to figure out what you guys referring to as racial fatigue. I could like a little definition as I answer the question. I mean, I can answer it as what I think it is. Tired of racism.
That's what we want to hear.
Is that what you mean?
Hold on a second, guys. Sorry, Black. Sincerely, I apologize. I PTR'd a picture of Enzo if you guys are interested. Othello, you want to have this dialogue with Black?
So cute.
Yeah, that's a beautiful dog, JB. But yeah, it could mean a lot of things. That's what I found out just through the energy of the room. And if you want to go into how you're tired of being having racism or prejudice used against you, you can go into that as well.
Look, I've got a definition I can read out. It's also known as racial battle fatigue. It refers to the cumulative psychological, emotional, and physical toll that racism and discrimination take on individuals. And also, I think like, it could be deemed for collective as well, but we're talking about individual maybe here at the moment as well, particularly people of colour. And that's more so related to, I guess, an American experience. But I believe that it could also relate to racism where ethnic groups, for example, ethnic minorities or marginalised people are involved. But it's not just about isolated incidents, but rather than the consistent or persistent exposure to a racial bias that would include, for example, microaggressions and hostile environments for periods of times, which can lead to exhaustion, frustration, even like trauma long term.
Thank you.
How's that?
That was a great Black, before you go, I want to ask Alan Dean, because he wrote something in the chat. I think he'll enjoy this. Alan, what did you write in the chat, Alan? Alan Dean?
Yeah, I've written a lot of things. Which one in particular?
What is racial fatigue to you, Alan?
Well, what did I say? Well, racial fatigue is I think, how did I put it? People being tired of Black people always centering themselves in every single conversation and making everything about race. I mean, that was, if you look to the origins of critical theory and critical race theory and the expression everyday CRT and what they wanted to promote in education, it was, and if I'm paraphrasing, but it was that everyday CRT, the goal was that every discussion would revolve around race. That race would always be used as the explanation of why a disparity exists, why violence happens, anything. So that, and now we're seeing the effects of that. It's largely been successful. You see race discussed all the time. And here we are in a room about racial fatigue. And it's still centering around Black people.
Let me just make this public announcement. Alan Dean does not speak. His views do not reflect the views of Healthy Debates. He's his own man. So if you have any smoke for Alan, bring it to Alan, not Healthy Debates. Thank you very much. JT, go ahead, JT.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, JB, that see, a guy like Alan, I ran into him so many times in these rooms. I think it's so interesting how he'll come into a room like this. Clearly, he can see the title, and then complain that Black people are always talking about racism, yet always seems to find all the rooms on Clubhouse, and one after another, we always see Alan in these conversations with some disrespectful stuff to say about Black people. That I find that to be interesting. If you're so tired of it, Alan, you know what I would do if I was tired of something, Alan? I would stop inviting myself into rooms that discuss those type of things. But we all know the reason why you're here, Alan. And so I think for the most part, your dialogue on conversations like this are for a specific group of people who have that same type of mindset that likes to try to pacify Black people and ignore clear white supremacy and problems that we have in this country. There's never been a conversation that I've ever been in with you where you've ever acknowledged racism, discrepancies around race, racial divide, or anything like that. So I think whenever you come into these rooms, we already know you're going to be on some BS.
Well, JT, hold on, Alan. Now I'm going to come back to you, but I wanted to go back to Black Rage because he wanted some preference on what is racial fatigue. Black Rage, are you there, sir?
Yeah, well, I'm working my key. Go ahead.
All right, I'll come back to you, bro. My apologies. But let me go to Win Stefani, then I'll go back to Alan, then Hakima. Win Stefani, good morning.
Hey, gratitude and abundance, everybody. How's everybody doing? Appreciate the topic. Appreciate the room as always. You know what? I read the title, and I highly doubt anybody has the cure to it. But I would like to submit my my thesis is that if we start, or if we took the risk to acknowledge that there are such things as racial disparities, discrimination, systemic racism and or oppression, if we really just decided to take a stance and just made the conscious decision to say and or acknowledge that yes, racism is a thing. There is a such thing as a racial disparity. Yes, there is a form of discrimination. Plain and simple, without all the fluff that I'm giving, I feel like I'm attempting to give. If there was just an acknowledgement that there is a such thing as racism and races, I truly believe that would cure it all. It's a long shot, but I honestly do believe that that would actually be cured and world peace could actually be conquered. Do I feel like me as an African American or my people have the innate ability to be racist? No. But do we have the ability to be prejudiced? Yes. Everybody has the ability to be prejudiced. But the reason why I say my people, African Americans, or Black people, foundational Black Americans, or ADOS, or whatever it may have you, the reason why I say that we don't have the innate ability to be racist is because, let's just be honest, we have suffered the most oppression and atrocities when it comes to having to deal with those types of oppressions. That doesn't mean that we need an extra amount of sympathy and or empathy. But I don't believe we have the ability because we still today are fighting for privilege.
Thank you, Stefani.
I don't think that, and I'm going to wrap it up, I don't personally believe that we should have ever started fighting for privilege. And I feel like us fighting for equality for so long kind of conflated with privilege. But we don't have the ability to be racist, but we have the ability to be prejudiced. But I honestly think if we got some form of acknowledgement, or if the world decided, yes, there is a such thing as racism, systemic racism, discrimination, anything of the sort, then I honestly do believe that would be the cure to end all racism and discrimination against people of color, Jewish people, anybody that is not Anglo-Saxon.
Stefani, I need you to land.
I think that's what would be the cure. Period.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I'm going to go back to Alan Dean, then Hakima, and then Hermes. Al?
Yeah. So, I mean, if there were white rooms, I would go to those. And when Clubhouse first started, there were, and Black people came to those. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. As far as all of that, yes, there would appear to be racial disparities between different racial groups in this country, but they can easily be explained by other theories other than critical race theory. It's an interesting theory, but it's not the only one, and it's not the final one, though the people who advocate for it claim that it is the final theory. But the other day, I want to answer JB. The other day you said, you don't know my lived experiences. You don't know what I've been through in my life. So you really, I'm paraphrasing. You said you shouldn't judge me. Something to that effect. And I think the same applies to me. And I'll just land by saying, like 3 years ago, everybody knows Monica. She started a room. It was like, what do you prefer, brownies or yellow cake? And it ended up being a racial fight. That's how ridiculous this whole discussion has gotten.
Well, let me
so you can complain about me.
Question. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion. Do you think this is a black space?
No, I think it's a space. We're here talking.
Okay, CEO has a question for you.
Hey, Alan, and then let me do a follow-up, but you brought up critical race theory and kind of centered your argument around that being something that blacks advocate in some grand way. I didn't hear that topic brought up today. Was there a reason you brought that up, or please explain?
Well, I specifically brought up everyday CRT, which its stated goal is that CRT and race should be applied to every problem and every disparity that one discusses, and that it is the reason.
Okay. Do you have any idea what critical race theory is, just briefly, without going to it?
Yeah, and I'm sure my definition won't satisfy you, but critical race theory is a theory which seeks to explain the disparities between different racial groups. Not only racial groups, but then there are race crits, there are gender crits, there are, I forget the other different types of crit, which is the abbreviation for critical, the different ones that there are.
So what do you disagree with the science of that science and hypothesis? What do you disagree with?
Well, first of all, as a theory, it's based on lived experience, which I have a lived experience.
Well, no, that's not what science is. Science is a more critical analysis. I think that's
but science
hold on a second. It doesn't have just really quick. It's not about a lived experience. It's a critical analysis. That's what I'm saying. Have you ever read anything? Let me just say this and just get off of it. Most people, like yourself, Alan, because there's a lot of boogeymen that right-wing MAGA propaganda does, and I usually can tell when someone's kind of plugged in to a specific channel, right? So most people don't even really understand what critical race theory is, that hate critical race theory. It's just one concept. It's of multiple things. It's just one thing that MAGA has chosen to fixate on to confuse the population to make us have stupid arguments. But you don't have to over-fixate on it, because what the gentleman said before you had nothing to do with critical race theory. Just look at it as a course from which, just like every other science, there's a lens by which to address something when it deals with race. You get what I'm saying, Alan? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand you're downplaying it, but that doesn't change the effect it's had and how effective advocates have been for it.
What has it done for you? What has it done? Just
so for example, when you look to the first draft of the California math frameworks, and you look at the authors for that, and you look at who they reference and the different academics and groups that they reference in justifying why they are changing the way math is taught, they use critical race theory. So that affects, 10 million, 15 million children in California schools. Is that something we should or should not pay attention to?
Yeah, it's one of several. Hold on a second, Alan. It's one of several things. It's just a science, just like
and it's a science
Einstein's theory. So hold on a second. It's just one piece, though, right?
Lived experience.
No, I understand your lived experience, but what I'm saying is
that's what critical race theory is based on.
No, it's okay.
No, it's an analysis of systems that function of government. What do you
Am I crazy? Look up "Am I crazy" in relation to critical race theory. And I don't have to speculate about this. I mean, about 4 years ago, I'm looking at a document given to graduate students talking about critical race theory and lived experience.
Which graduate students were they, though? Hey, Alan, listen to what I'm saying, though. Your point is mathematics, right?
That was one point, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Mathematics, and you say graduate student. So this is about academic study and the critical analysis of how things affect people. So it's basically just making a science of this theoretical lived experience discussion that you're having. And math in California for K through 12 has nothing to do with you, or college, right? And math, critical race theory applied to some consideration of how a curriculum is developed is empathetic for the diversity of the student population, it does not alienate you or any white people that are a part of this boogeyman demonization.
Yeah, but CO, it does. If you have teachers teaching third graders, or let's say, what grade would this be in? A typical math problem, and this is an actual example taken from the example curriculum that they proposed. And I don't want to go down too far down this rabbit hole.
So please don't.
But instead of a teacher introducing a math problem that says Bobby pays 5% interest on a loan for $1,000, how much interest did he pay after 1 year? The problem, what they then say is Bobby paid 5% interest on $1,000. Jimmy paid 7% on that same loan. Bobby is white, Jimmy is black. How much did each pay? Then do you think it's fair that Jimmy paid 2% interest more than Bobby? Let's discuss that. That is an actual example. Now,
hey, Alan.
Does percentage have a
that
color?
didn't happen. Would you? I'll just end the conversation there and give it back to JB. Would you post that in the things? And let me just say this.
Look up California Math Framework.
Even if it did,
there for you. It is.
I understand.
Hang on for a second. Alan, I'm the one who issued you. It's not because I'm not interested in hearing what your opinion is. It's just that we have a way of doing things in healthy debates. And if a moderator's talking, okay, just give them the privilege of being able to speak, okay? Two people speaking at the same time doesn't make for good content, all right?
Yeah, and thank you for that. And Alan, your voice has always, been valued because for whatever it's worth, good, bad, and indifferent, you represent a segment of this population that has a complaint and an opinion. My submission is to the room, Alan, to some extent, if we want to talk about victim and victim blaming, Alan and people like Adam, to me, they're typically a symbol of conditioning. They literally, I hate to put you down like this, Alan, because you were objective the other day in something you said when we reasoned through stuff. But I'm just saying a lot of the stuff that people say is because this is what people are telling them. And I hate to say it, but we have a part of the media and the administration that's normalized misinformation. And so people repeat this stuff. Critical race theory does not affect Alan in the least bit. If it does anything, it gives empathy to diverse populations in certain areas just to understand how curriculums are traditionally taught. But students are
But CEO, let me just say something here real quick. And I'm not sticking up for Alan, right? I don't agree with anything he ever says. Respectfully, so he gets the same effect back. But he also said a few times it's been his lived experience. For me, I don't care who it is. I don't ever like to disparage somebody's lived experience. So that's all I want to say. Then after you're done, CEO, I want to go to Hakima, and then we're going to get Cuba, MJ, and her amazing conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and thank you, and I acknowledging your point about a lived experience. And JB, I think you're very objective in your articulation of lived experience, right? But every racist on this stage has a lived experience, right? And some of their lived experiences don't relate to what's true for the masses. So I'm saying pushing back and having a conversation about critical analysis as it relates to, or in comparison to anecdotal experiences that might be a part of somebody who's been deeply conditioned by cultish propaganda. We have to have these conversations. That's what it's for. And I'll land there.
Yeah, but hold on. Everybody, hold on. What's the funny? Hold on, bro. Here's the thing. And like I said, I'm not Alan's public defender. He can stick up for himself. He's a grown-ass man. But I believe Alan thinks the way he thinks now his whole life, way before MAGA was around.
I agree with you.
So well, hold on, Alan.
That's where you'd be wrong.
Oh, so MAGA indoctrinated you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity.
Yeah.
Hold on, Alan. Alan, hold on. Hakima, good morning, Hakima.
Good morning, Jay.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm good.
Mike is yours.
I don't want to join the conversation. Rowan invited me up, and I haven't spoke to him. I didn't want to come up and say hey to Rowan because I haven't spoke to him in a while.
Mate, it's been a long time. I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
I guess we'll talk more in another room. I'm just listening to this crazy talk.
Yeah, look, I mean, you know what it's like around here, dude. Yeah, look, I mean, we know what it's like around here, okay? And this is what we're doing now. Yes, it doesn't really. Look, we can talk about just about anything. I mean, just look. I recall as going back a couple of years ago, we had a conversation here. Went for probably about an hour and a half, with a self-professed neo-Nazi. Okay, the thing was, like, the conversation was very much worthwhile because we got to ask him questions. We got to be able to understand what was going through his mind, where he's come from, what his history is, how he got to these conclusions and so forth. There was no screaming, there was no yelling, there was nothing that was said that was highly offensive. And we made sure that was the case, but it was good dialogue. It was interesting conversation. I don't see why we can't do the same sort of thing here when it comes to, interviewing a person or speaking to a person, understanding why they have their views about racism.
Only thing I say to that, and I'll be quiet, is that I get if it was a one-off and you wanted to see how somebody thought, but when it's every day the same people, then it just get redundant and like, what is the point if we got to do this? I'm sure you wouldn't talk to a neo-Nazi every single day. Like it wouldn't be interested at some point.
Yeah, look, mate, I agree with you. We're on the same page.
All right, so here's the thing, guys. If my rooms are not your spaces, then go somewhere else. I have no problems with that. I enjoy my spaces. I run a great space. I'm probably one of the better moderators on this app. So if that triggers you, there's the leave quietly button. Okay, let me finish because I didn't interrupt you. But when I run my space, I run some of the best conversations on this app. Now, if the topic bothers you, because yesterday we didn't talk about the black fatigue or racial fatigue. We talked about the Jews yesterday, Rohan. I know that's a sensitive subject, but if you guys have a problem with my topic, by all means, open your room.
Oh, mate, no, not at all. I think it's actually a really interesting conversation. To be honest with you, I've never heard of racial fatigue beforehand. When I saw the title, I thought, oh, this is interesting. What's this about? It obviously doesn't relate, directly to just one group of people. Although in America, and that's what I was saying earlier when I was reading more about it and got a better understanding of that, it does deal with like ethnic minorities as well, by virtue of the fact that racism isn't just about or race in itself, but about ethnic minorities as well. So I'm curious, like maybe there are other people who could experience racial fatigue who aren't necessarily part of Black America. That'd be like an even more interesting conversation, I think. But I love your rooms. I love
well, we've had plenty of people in here who aren't part of the Black community speak on this. Because racial fatigue is for every community. I gotta be honest, Rohan, I have a little Jewish fatigue on this app right now because the Jewish mafia doesn't want to hear the truth. I'm keeping it real. I keep it real. And I'm a proud Zionist. But I call out what I call out, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. He called him the most racist. That shit was wild.
But that's how I feel. It's my lived experience. Because my lived experience showed me that. Now, nobody could disparage my lived experience. Rohan, listen, I get it. Listen. You and I have been two of the biggest supporters of our community on this app. But the hypocrisy, arrogance, and elitism that comes out of our community sometimes, all that does is stoke the flames of anti-Semitism.
Okay. I don't know much about what the experiences you're talking about, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you about it. But I'd be pushing back on this notion that, well, look, I mean, I've heard that. I'll let you put it into your words. You're saying that the Jewish community are the most racist, or am I mishearing things?
No, I said it very clearly. I had a room the other day, which community is the most racist? And somebody asked me, well, what do you think? I said the Jewish community. I didn't hesitate. That's from my lived experience, from what I've seen and experienced throughout. And now, that doesn't mean it applies to everybody, but it applies to me, in my view.
All right. Well, have you ever experienced me being racist? Ever?
And once again, if it don't apply, let it fly. I said my lived experience. I've never heard you say anything racist. I think you're a good man. I think you pour into any community you can. But you see how we do that? We centralize conversations. And I'm not saying you, but everybody does it. We centralize these conversations. Did I say that? Did I say this? I said it was my lived experience. That means in the real world, I've seen a certain segment of the Jewish community, by the way, who probably wouldn't accept you or me either, by the way. Not wanting to rent apartments to blacks, not wanting to hire blacks just because of their skin color. That's my lived experience. Now, maybe yours is different, but I know what I've seen here in Brooklyn.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to have this dialogue with you. I really would. It's well past my bedtime. More than happy to do it another time. Let's make a point of doing it.
Absolutely. I'm always available for you, Rohan. Hold on, Tori. I'm always available for you, my friend in real life, as well as on this app. And I love the fact that we could agree to disagree, so have mutual love and respect for each other. But Tori, you wanted to say something before I go to the next speaker?
No, I was going to say you didn't lie about Jews being racist. That's why I get so confused when you have white people who hate Jews, because y'all are they're one and the same, in my opinion. We can see this with the Hollywood industries and how they treat Black people and how they're the ones that actually promote this propaganda about Black culture. So, yeah, I definitely can agree with that.
What can you agree with? So can you please articulate that just a little bit more clearer for me? What do you agree with?
That Jews are racist.
Okay. So you want to use a pejorative to be able to describe an entire group of minority?
I don't know about minority, but I do know that Jews are racist. And they have the ability to be racist, but then they also weaponize what happened years ago to try to prove that they aren't racist. So because they do a Holocaust, then they feel like they don't have the ability to be racist, but they're still one and the same.
Okay. You're now making an argument that really is not doing yourself any favors, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, look, Stu, hey, wait, Tori, just let me get a thought out, okay? I really appreciate it. I was being really patient whilst you were, I guess, spewing that out. Yeah, it'd be stupid and also intellectually dishonest to be able to say there aren't people who are racist who are part of the Jewish community. I'd agree with that. But to be able to label an entire group of people as being racist is actually racist in itself. I think it's absolutely ridiculous and retarded. And I don't use that fucking word very often. You're just digging yourself into a stupid hole.
Right.
Let me jump in here real quick, Tori.
Go ahead.
And I'll come right back to you. See, let me just run it for a little bit. But you see where you started, Rohan? This is all your time. But you know, the truth, and I agree with you. You can't. I'm not labeling a whole group of community. They're all racist, because people can say what they want about me. One thing they cannot say is I'm racist. Right? And I'm a Jew. I'm a proud Zionist. But to label all Jews, I think people need a little more clarity when they speak. Right? I just said, and this is the problem, Rohan. When I say it's my lived experience, I'm not saying all Jews. You're a good Jew. Dick at you on stage is a good Jew. I don't believe either one of you are racist. But here's the problem in our community. We never want to take accountability for what's really going on. That's just my opinion, Rohan. We just don't. We want to hold the blacks to a different standard, or the Latinos to a certain standard, or this group or that group. But me as a Jew, God forbid I get to say anything against my community. I lose my Jew card. Oh, he was never a Jew. I told you all this other bullshit. The Jewish mafia comes after me. I'm just calling what I see in my lived experience. Nobody has to believe it. I know what I lived through. But Shia, hold on a second. Rohan, did you want to say something? Then I want to give Tori.
No, look, I could say a whole range of things, and it's probably not going to come out really well at this point in time. But also, I just want to say how to pick a Jew, and also the other mods on the stage. Appreciate you guys being part of this room and part of the support conversation as well. And JB, always appreciate you, and we're going to talk about this another time, mate.
Hey guys, listen, guys, give Rohan a little grace. It is like 4 o'clock in the morning over there. Alan, hold on. I want to give Tori a chance to.
Yeah, I want to ask him a question too.
Oh, okay. Let me go to Tori first, and then I'll come to you, and then I gotta. Okay, Alan, the mic is.
Yeah, did I hear you correctly that I think you said CRT applies to ethnic minorities too? Did I hear? Were you the one who said that?
Who you asking? Rohan, he's asking you.
Sorry, what was the question?
I said, did I hear you correctly that you said CRT applies to ethnic minorities as well?
No, you did not. I did not say that. You may have misheard me, and that's fine. What I did say that racism, applies to ethnic minorities, 100%.
Oh, okay, yeah, great, yeah, because remember, there's 1.5 million Armenians in the United States, so we are an ethnic minority, and there's 44 million Black people. I don't know how many Jewish people in the United States, JB. Yeah, so the whole thing. So maybe I should embrace CRT. Definitely, racism is prejudice plus power, and since numerically we are one of the smallest minorities in the United States, we have no power. So using their logic, I can't be racist. I get to say anything I want, and it's punching up, not punching down. Am I correct? Am I using?
Alan.
Yes. Am I using the logic correctly?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Am I using the logic correctly?
Right, look, fucking hell, seriously. It's too late for me. Right? I'll tell you what's illogical, right? When there's been like a very clear description of how we like to be able to have conversations here. If moderating, including myself, or JB or CEO, right, want to be able to talk, okay, that means whether it's you, whether it's somebody else, just give us the grace and we'll have this conversation, let us talk. What I'm trying to do is clarify for you what racism is according to numerous dictionaries. Okay, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or a people on the basis of the membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, right? Typically one that is minority or marginalized. Okay, I'm not talking about CRT. Okay, I'm talking specifically about racism itself. Okay, and if you've been subjected to racism, you feel like you have been discriminated against, there's been prejudice being utilized against you, and also an antagonist based on your specific ethnic minority group, okay, I'm sorry that's happened to you. It's fine.
Thank you, Rohan.
Yeah, but you didn't address my point, which was about the logic. So thank you for the education about how I'm supposed to act in rooms. But if you could address the point I made about punching up, punching down, prejudice plus power, because a group of 1.5 million people in the United States, according to their logic, has no power. Therefore, I cannot be racist. Now, if you would like to address that, that's fine. If you don't want to because you don't feel capable of it, then that's fine too.
Okay. Okay, let's put a hypothetical together here, okay? I don't know you from a bar of soap, but you're coming from a minority, okay? If you start saying something about the Jews are this, that makes you racist. I'm not talking about CRT, okay, which is what you want to anchor me into or lure me into this conversation about CRT. I'm talking about racism.
Okay, so black people can be racist.
Alan, I need to move on from you.
The answer to the question is yes, black people can definitely be racist, I promise you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We have these discussions every day here in Healthy Debates. You suffer from racial fatigue. We have the cure. Let me do my reset, please. Guys, if you have a pink ticket, cash it in. Today's raffle prize is an all-expense dinner with Alan Dean. If you have a pink ticket, Pepe, what's up, Moose? Kaylin, how you doing? I am Lyric. I see you. But let me say hello to my friend Sig. Sig, how you doing?
What's going on, brother? Good morning, and good morning to everybody in the room and on stage. What's going on, guys?
Good. Did you want to chime in? Or you want me to circle back?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at the room topic. Do you suffer from racial fatigue? I wouldn't say I suffer from it, but definitely get sick of a lot of the things that I see and experience. I took my wife out to dinner last week, and in the booth behind us, while we're eating our nice, steak dinner, there was a lady who was blasting her TikTok videos, sitting in a booth by herself and disturbing and disrupting the entire half of the restaurant because her volume was so loud. That shit I typically run into with a certain group of people, and it's very frequent. Even my wife pointed out, she was like, "What the fuck? That shit is loud, man. Like, it's in your fucking ear, man. Like, what the fuck is going on, So, shit like that, I do get tired of. I do get sick of. I wouldn't say I suffer from it though, but yeah, man, it's out there, man. Like, I'm not going to deny it. There's certain racial stereotypes that certain racial groups project very frequently. And a lot of people are scared to point it out and call it out. But if you pull them into a private room and have a conversation, they'll be 100% honest with you and say, yeah, this this is my experiences with certain races, and I frequently have noticed very annoying, very fatiguing behavior.
So Sig, you got it. I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my puppy. You guys want to keep the room open or blow it up? Sig, Nye, Rohan, Vero, CO.
Yeah, we can keep it open, man. Yeah.
All right, do me a favor, guys. For the mods, can we all play nice with each other, please? Respect each other. If not, just Sig, boom the room. I gotta go. I'll catch you guys.
Take it easy, JB.
Roger.
Can someone give a definition of racial fatigue?
Yeah, I think that the definition of the room wasn't necessarily talking about the behaviors of Black people. I think it was Black people being fatigued with racism. That's been the tone since I've been in here anyway. And then, when Alan came in, he kind of changed the trajectory. And now we're kind of talking about, we talked about CRT for a while, and I'm not exactly sure where we are now.
I guess my question is the remnants of, persons of color, Black people being racially fatigued, what type of effect did the Willie Lynch letters have on the entire United States?
Can you ask your question again, or a little bit more clear?
Yeah, because I got a bit lost.
Yeah, well, I think piggybacking off of what Hermes stated about Alan's premise on CRT and it being a larger, it being an extension of a much larger issue as to why there's racial fatigue, I guess one would ask, what type of effect did the Willie Lynch letters have on society as a whole?
Some people might not know what the Willie Lynch letter is. So, and of course, I'm sure there's some debate that the Willie Lynch letter was completely fake or a fabrication of multiple racist ideas that were compiled into one letter and attributed to a certain author or authors. But if you could give the room kind of a Cliff Notes version of what the Willie Lynch letter is, that would be helpful, perhaps.
No, I'm good.
I was gonna say in 2025, Gwen Stefani, sorry. In 2025, people won't even read the instructions on how to work their fucking iPhones. You think the majority of people in 2025 have sat down and read the Willie Lynch letters, or and Nye's completely correct. There is some discernment from a lot of people whether they were true or really existed or not, man. So yeah, I would highly doubt they have any effect, because nobody, the average person in 2025 doesn't even know it.
I think I've heard that it's actually not an actual letter, but I think the premise of what it's supposed to stand for, I think that's accurate. When you consider, what was done, the psychological effect that, slavery in general, has had on melanated people across the globe, I think that it's prevalent, of course. But, at the same time, too, there are a lot of things that have taken place, over the years that affect, Black communities, economically as well, that across the board, when you're in a situation of poverty, you tend to act out, in those ways. So a lot of the things that we see in the community that negatively affect our people are because of the economic situation that we are in. It's because of the government undermining in our communities. There's a various list of reasons why there are problems in the Black community. If that's the conversation that we want to have now, I think we could express that a little bit more, kind of open that up. But I think the Willie Lynch letters definitely speak to that, but I don't necessarily know if those letters were actually true.
I just want to say, from my research and stuff, it's fake. Because within it they mention a summit that was like meant to help slave owners kind of get more control and stuff. But that summit, there's no evidence of it ever happening. It didn't happen at all. So yeah,
You know, I'm kind of listening in and out. That was a really good point that was made. I think people don't realize that when you feel down, like if you're privileged, if someone benefits from whatever privilege, or they've had a charmed life, they don't have the first clue as to understanding why someone might be reactive or activated, triggered, etc., angry, acting out, etc., because they've never been down and out. And it absolutely makes sense that when communities are down and out because of marginalization, they're going to act out. Why not? Like, when you see other people who are living the fucking dream, like I have, for example, extremely wealthy family members, including extremely wealthy siblings. I spent a lot more fucking time in school than they did. I failed a lot more. I took more risks, and I've been down and out in my life. I've been in jail, etc. I mean, and I was a privileged Jewish kid. So if you don't know that experience of being down and out, you can't, I shouldn't say you can't possibly relate, but it is very hard to understand. And I was just having this conversation with someone else where I was talking about I was complaining about my own life. And I was thinking, it wasn't until I was feeling better about myself that I was able to, climb out of that anger, that resentment, blah, blah, blah. So this is where empathy comes into play, empathy and sympathy. And the problem is that most communities, most people who have been privileged have not endured the kind of humiliation, the kind of negative experiences that they could even grow from, right? They've just lived a fucking charmed life. They don't know any better. So the question is, do we have empathy and compassion for them? I guess we can, but I think it's also fair to say, yeah, of course that person's fucking pissed. Their life isn't going well at this moment, right? Like, and that is something that a lot of Americans can't relate. Well, I shouldn't say more and more, I suppose, can now. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that in while I'm working on something.
Can I say something too?
Hey, hold on really quick, Mods. I have to pop out real quick into an interview. I'll be.
You got it, Roger.
I do want to say this though, especially when it comes to us discerning if something is real or not. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because you can't find evidence of something existing doesn't mean that it did not exist at some point. Like, even when it comes to me, I know that I can't find any information on my great-great-grandparents, right? I can't find any records or anything like that because realistically records weren't keeping very well. But that doesn't mean that my great-great-grandparents didn't exist, right? So when we start having conversations and saying, oh, well, we're going to hunt this down and we can't find any evidence of it, doesn't mean that it didn't take place. It's just something that may have not been properly categorized, or even if it was categorized, it happened so long ago. It could have been lost. It could have been destroyed. Anything could have happened to it.
That's true.
Like, we forget that things were taken on paper records and not like digital records like we have today.
That's a great point. Was somebody about to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to ask the driver a question based on his last statement, but if you want to go, you can.
Go ahead, Sig.
Okay, cool. The driver, so based on your last submission, I got a question for you. Do you think the world owes anybody any empathy or sympathy or understanding of their current life situation?
No, I don't believe the world owes anyone anything, but that's not how we internalize the pain. So if you feel down and out, you're still going to be acting out. You may or may not rationalize why. You may or may not rationalize that the world is unfair, but you still feel the pain. So that's the important part. And someone in a therapeutic relationship with a clinician would be trying to work on these things so that they don't act out, because they're processing
trauma, what have you, anger, all the emotions that are associated with this kind of despair. And this is across all groups. I'm not suggesting that the impoverished white person experiences the same grief, despair, resentment as someone of color who's been marginalized. But fundamentally, this is something that people internalize and tend to act out. Reactive abuse, communally, collectively, is very similar to reactive abuse individually. If you get pushed enough, if you get pushed hard enough, you're gonna fucking act out. This is what we see with protests. We see all kinds of things. So that's all I was trying to share.
I think it's a really good point. And if I could bring up a couple of things. The first is, speaking of the reaction abuse, and you speaking of it in a psychological frame. If anything, for those that are having the other side of racial fatigue, where you're tired of black people complaining, I would just submit that you're actually adding fuel to the fire, right? Because if people are marginalized, disenfranchised, and have to deal with a certain reality, and the large swath of the country, namely the administration of the United States government, is basically saying that this thing that they feel does not exist, and that they're stupid for thinking it and taking advantage of it. I think, on this point, it actually has an adverse effect on the community. And it's always kind of sort of cool to paint these, when we're having these stories that talk about the narrative, in comparison and contrast to other, cultures. It'd be like telling Jewish people that the Holocaust doesn't exist, right? You're not going to find a friend in that community that'll stick up to you, support you, or be an ally to any of them. It's not working because it's bullshit, right? So I'm just saying we just have to be very careful with the lady that just came on and said the Willie Lynch letter doesn't exist. Well, the Willie Lynch letter is more true than Columbus discovering America, and in every school book they write that bull crap down, even though they know it's BS, right? Here's my point. You also said, and no, not to pick on you, because I'm sure this is what you're conditioned to believe, but you said that there's no convention where slave owners got together and coordinated slavery. How do you think a bunch of little men?
Oh, no. I just mean the event that they mentioned in that letter specifically.
So you're just saying the slave conventions that were multiple by slave owners that they had all the time on how to manage slaves. You're just saying that it wasn't named as you saw it in some publication. Is that what you're describing?
Just I saw that there was a bunch of research done into it, and let me see if I can find it.
Okay, so even if you found it, what I was saying to you, Alaska, here's the facts of the matter. There's not one letter, but there's multiple letters. All they're just saying is that there's a process by which you enslave a human being. There are multiple publications that are written. Whether his last name was Lynch or his first name Willie, the part of the lynching and the part of the chattel slavery experience, when you say that, it's like you're denying the heritage of some group of people in America, and that's what becomes offensive if you don't understand what you're saying. It's a systemic process that was very intense, it was rape, it was torture, it was the separation of men from women so that they couldn't have family, it was breeding. It's so deep and insidious. So to infer or in the least bit say, well, the conference wasn't named what it was named in the letter. That's the part that would come off offensive. Does that make sense, Alaska?
Yes, no, of course, yeah, and that I don't at all think. So yeah, I definitely don't want to come.
Yeah, so they did a number on the people, and what was also mentioned, for whatever it's worth, in that style of letters or that indoctrination is basically almost the same thing as an elephant. If you train an elephant and you put a chain around its leg and make it walk in a circle, then even after you take the chain off its leg, it's going to walk around a circle in a circus. Well, the theory of the tools that they used were to indoctrinate and subjugate, torture, and rape our women so that they would teach their children, men to be effeminate, and women to be dependent, right, and independent, right, while they were indoctrinated with a bastard form of a patriarchal religion, and then gave none of the slaves a part of that patriarchy and didn't allow them to read. So this system literally still affects the mentality of our culture today, because cultures, reign for hundreds of years when you teach a culture something, just like the analogy that I just made. So I just wish that we had these conversations and don't think that Black people are saying that we want a handout, that we want something for free. We just want to be properly considered in context, so there's no information that says we're some type of genetically predisposed trifling culture, as opposed to just like every other human. We want our conditions to consider when you consider our color. If I can say one more thing and then let me know who the next speaker is. The one thing I wanted to say is the race card, right? If you guys think about, because this is not about MAGA, it isn't really about Trump, it's not about what's happening now. What's happening now is just the cherry on top for what's been trying to happen 30 years. When they were using the race card, I used to say, man, the race card is actually racist in and of itself. Because at the end of the day, race card and the way that it was used only applied to the credibility of one culture. It only meant Black people stop crying and complaining. So here's what I would say we have to understand as Black people in order to have a space that's better for our children, is that this voice that's been exacerbated by the current administration and these movements that have happened politically to gain power and pitting people against each other, this is a real voice. People are really, quote unquote, tired of hearing this. They've been tired. And there have always been assaults. Jesse Jackson is a race hustler. Al Sharpton is a race hustler. This person's a race hustler. These Black people are complaining. Shut up about reparations. Go out and get your own. All of these phrases and these tropes, they're intentional. And I'll just land there that we just need to be careful and how we discuss these things, and the whole race conversation needs to be reformatted and readdressed so that we understand that there's a literal voice of fatigue on one side, but that our concerns are legitimate, and all we're asking for is the government to be what it says on paper, and that's each man created equal.
Can I quickly say something?
Please do.
Of course, was it Miss Clark? I would like to just ask you about your input earlier. You said that even though things aren't written down, and I agree with you, when things aren't written down, it's so easy for them to be lost in history, or when things are destroyed or taken away from us, burning of books, burning of letters, burning of statues, things like that. So the history is lost. I agree with that. But when we compare it to my challenge, my pushback here is it's obvious to everybody that you would not exist unless your grandfather or your grandmother had existed. I mean, that's obvious. No one would exist without our grandparents. However, the oral history, that's not obvious. It's not obvious because if it's not written down, photographed, or I'm a documentary filmmaker myself, so I kind of, this is like really big for me. Writing it down, oral history is super important. Put it down. My family, we're Aztec, and although I appear white today, I don't know. My people were conquered. We weren't colonized. It's a different story. So I try not to. I don't do the whole colonizer thing. We were conquered, right? So now I look back at my history. In my family's home that we've had forever, there's a Bible. In that Bible is written. I have pictures of this. It's beautiful. I've been down to Mexico many times. Everyone's written down. Marriages, deaths, births, divorces, murders, history, everything's written down. And if that wasn't there, I would know none of it. I wouldn't know about the first people to come into America to fight against, the Union, to fight against Civil War, things like that. So, it's obvious that your parents had to exist for you to exist. But oral history, if this isn't the thing that this is the one thing I think we should be fighting for. And I'm putting my 10 toes down on this because this is my career, documentary film. So if we're not, it's up to me to continue on the history of my family. Unfortunately, the schools are not going to teach that. They won't. They're going to say the conquistadores came in and then raped and pillaged and killed us and wiped out our entire existence. For many reasons, they called us savages, they called us brutal, because we're ripping out the hearts of 13-year-old virgins and letting the blood drip down our stairs. So, I wouldn't know that unless it was written down. So I'm just pegging, I wouldn't want to parallel this to, your parents. I would parallel this to not being able to hold on to the history because of colonialization or conquering that has destroyed that history. I will say now it's up to us as individuals to keep that history going.
And Ms. Clark, I'm sure you want to respond to her. Go ahead, Ms. Clark.
No, yeah. I think the bigger point that I was making with my statement, and the reason why I use the obvious of my stance, is to infer that just because you don't have evidence of something existing doesn't mean that it didn't exist at a point in time. Just like how you said your community has that book, that Bible. If, God forbid, wherever it's stored decides to catch on fire, does that mean that none of those events happen? Because there's like, even though word of mouth, you have the word of mouth. You can say, this is this. And somebody can come and say, but there's no evidence. There was evidence, as we can see. It just probably ended up destroyed or gone. And that's kind of like what I'm getting at. So when we sit here and try to say, well, these things didn't happen because we have no record of them, we act as if things don't happen in secret either. We act as if things can't be written down. Like, I'm pretty sure there was documentation that my grandparents were existed and they had their names. And it was written down in a book, because, like, let's be clear, people back then, when they were born, they just went on a line in a giant-ass book, who was the mother, who was the father, time and birth, right? And where you're born. In my case, wherever they held them burned down. Millions of records gone of people and their births. And that's kind of like why I use that example, because yes, it's obvious that I'm here today, but it can also be a thing where we can say, realistically, we can't say that something is alive or fake because we can't find substantial evidence of it, even though orally it's been passed down or we have some bits and pieces of it. That's why I said the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence.
Hey, Vero, did you want to push back on that?
Yeah, I'll just say one thing, and I completely agree with you, 100% agree with you. But my only thing is that it is not obvious at that point. Because we don't have the evidence, it's not obvious. So it's difficult for people to understand. That's all I was pointing at. It's obvious to understand that your grandparents exist because you are the evidence. But because we say something with no evidence, it's harder for people to be persuaded. That's all.
I think I saw the remnant. Thank you so much, Vero. I think I saw the remnants of a concept that I'm interested in the answer for. Hey, Sarah, is there anything that you think that you like about Black people? Sarah?
What is it?
Is there anything that you like about Black people?
Are you serious right now?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. I love Black men.
I've only heard you say negative things.
Just say that.
Wow, wait.
Not Black men.
You love Black dicks.
Sarah, did you say you like Black men?
I said I love Black men. I'm just trying to mess
I'm about to put.
You know what I like about Black men? You like Black men in this room? You know what I like about Black people?
Go ahead, Sarah.
They do actually have a very similar culture to my culture, to Iranians. They're very fashion, they dress well, they love their mothers. I kind of have a hard time understanding why there is such an issue with the nuclear family, because Black people, they love their parents. They respect their parents. That's something like, I've noticed, if you don't suppress them and you don't constantly tell them they're victim, they actually thrive, they're strong, they have good genes. This is how I see Black people. What else do I tell you about? They're gentle, even though
you might need to stop. Like you today, you might need to stop right there and don't say a damn thing else for the rest of the day. You get one good day today, Sarah. God damn it, I would give you a racist ass a hug if you were near me today, Sarah.
Sarah, do you like Black women too? I know you like Black men. Do you like Black women?
Did you ask me?
Yeah, because you said Black men specifically.
Well, that's because I'm like, come on, don't play stupid.
Hey, Sarah, did a Black man break your heart at some point?
No.
Okay, I did not.
No, I find Black men very gentle and very respectful, though.
Oh my gosh.
Black men don't cheat.
Are Black women gentle?
I've never been dated by a Black man, so I don't know.
Hell no.
Someone said they cheat. I've never been a victim of that, so I don't know.
Hey, Dick, would you take Sarah out on a date?
I would take her out on a date. I'd bang the shit out of Sarah, but I probably wouldn't wife her. She's got too much mouth on me.
Hey, JB might be bad at the conversation.
Oh, hell no.
We'll keep this between them.
So, hey, if I could, hey, Sarah, thanks for that. That was the funnest moment I've had in several days of tolerating you on this app. So at least I know you have a human side underneath it. I really appreciate it.
Can I ask you a question? What don't you like about Black people?
Man, I was
this my question?
Sarah on a positive note, man.
I want to hear my emotional shift.
I want to hear her answer. Sarah, is there anything you don't like about Black people? It's okay.
Are you asking me that question?
Yes.
I don't really know anything. I don't have anything to give you. Is there like a single or like, like if you ask me what do you not like about me, I can tell you, but I don't generalize a group of people based on their race. I don't.
So you don't think victim consciousness, or you don't think?
No, because I am surrounded by very, very successful different groups. Like I don't know. I think this is just a clubhouse thing. I have a business partner that's Black. I have a landlord that's Black. I work in Black community. I don't see this in real life as much as I see it in Clubhouse.
Hey,
look,
you
mentioned that, you mentioned in the chat that institutional racism doesn't exist today, which I'm curious about, because I gave you some examples.
I think Black people exist to annoy white.
Yeah, the reason I tell you that is because I don't believe in differences in the same issues that people say equal right for women. I don't believe in that either. I don't believe America's racist. I don't believe America's sexist.
Will you marry me?
How do I? Huh?
Will you marry me?
Who's talking? No, I'm not marrying anyone. But who's talking? I'm being very serious
That's either Pepe or Keegan.
I haven't said shit yet.
Oh,
I'm not talking.
No, I really don't believe in that, and why is it? Is because honestly, I'm an educator. Like I don't see it. Like, look, do we have racist people? We absolutely do. I live in an area. I live in LA, so I probably don't even see, the racism, like the community, society racism that people experience in other places. But that's different than systemic. I don't see systemic racism.
Wait. So,
but I know that, like, I've never seen a giraffe.
Racist judges, racist sheriffs, racist.
That doesn't mean systemic. That doesn't make it
hold on. How is a judge or like a mayor or like a sheriff not systemic? That's top down.
Systemic is what's in the laws, and it's like
that's not what systemic necessarily means.
It's a system that's designed for people to fail, and I don't believe we have that. So we don't have to.
Hold on a second. Hey Sarah, hold on a second, Sarah. Truth, is that your voice asking her that?
I'm sorry.
Was that you asking her about systemic racism?
That was me.
It was me originally.
Okay, and just for the record, Truth, and welcome to the stage. I don't know when you came on. And this is a room hosted by JB. He does a remarkable job with these healthy debates, man. We've had this discussion. We talked about several things. Some of the mods have been here with him forever. I'm relatively new to the stage. All of these opinions don't represent the host nor the moderators, but these are individual opinions. Sarah's jumped on stage because we accuse Sarah in some regard of having racist views. For whatever it's worth, Sarah, I don't know you're racist because I don't know your heart, but I'm just saying a lot of the things that you say might have racist viewpoint, or from a racist viewpoint is what we say, and that's my opinion there. So for whatever it's worth, Truth, I would offer to you, and then I want to hear your opinion, that I can count. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would count there's probably 6 people, which I would assume represents almost half the stage, that literally have said that systemic racism doesn't exist, and racism.
What?
Yeah, it's a reality. I'm just saying we've had that go down a deep rabbit hole, but several of the stage, you can blink your microphone if you believe that, but several people on the stage have literally said on multiple occasions that systemic racism doesn't exist, and basically to some extent they're tired of hearing Black people complain about it because it doesn't exist. Maybe there's a couple of racist people around. Then I've said, hey, here's where systemic racism is. So we've debated that ad nauseum. If anybody wants to address anything that was just said, let's do that. But I didn't want to go deep back down the institutional racism rabbit hole.
Can I address something that Rose said?
So, Othello, then Keegan.
I have one more question.
Pepe said my name.
Othello, then Keegan, then Alan.
Okay,
Pepe, shut up.
One more question. Sarah, is America anti-Semitic?
Right now, I think it is.
Okay, but it's not racist, you said? Because
But
black people...
systemically, they're not anti-Semitic. No, that's not a systemic. But I feel like we are seeing anti-Semitic, all this stuff that happened in the colleges, they were anti-Semitic. And someone's like, oh, yesterday she was a doctor, today she's an educator. You can be both. Like, you don't need to, I didn't change my job. I'm a college professor, but I also practice. So yes, I am both. But as an educator, I was in the colleges, and I'm in LA again. We're radical here. I saw a lot of bad stuff right here in LA. I saw people going too far. You don't think it's anti-Semite to stop students from going to their dorm because they're Jewish? Are you serious? No. You're praying about all the suffering of the black people, in the past, and then you don't understand how problematic it is for any group of people to be stopped at their dorm and not being allowed to enter. But are we systemic anti-Semite? I don't believe that. America is the land of equality. We're all equal.
There's a breakdown in an understanding of terms here. So systemic has an exact definition, especially in the context of political. It does not mean legal. And this should be obvious, right? Because what you're suggesting is if it's not in the law, how could it be a part of the system? You mean Jews were people were prejudiced against Jews in Nazi Germany before it was on the books? No, until it was on the books. And therefore, by your estimate, the moment slavery ended, of course, things were just amazing. You obviously would not say that, so you're already full of shit because you don't even believe.
No, I'm not saying when slavery ended,
No, please stop. No, stop.
I'm not saying that. No, you're full of shit.
Sarah, hold on, Sarah.
You don't get to call me full of shit. Like, full of shit is your face.
You're getting triggered.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, because you just called me out because I don't believe in what you want me to believe. What the fuck?
Hey, I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to pull a JB.
Yeah, I just want to finish my point just real fast. Yeah, and I say that with all due respect. Sometimes people need to be called out because they just have a desire to keep... Hold on,
Sarah, stop.
We have beef. Can you put that go ahead?
You can hate me on mute.
Sarah, let him finish.
Yeah, hate me on mute, and then I'll give you the same courtesy, except I won't hate you. Because you don't know any better, but you know you're full of shit. Here's how we know this. If I ask you the day after slavery ends, there's no systemic racism, you would never say that. So what you're trying to argue in actuality is the degree to which there ever was systemic racism is no longer relevant. But you're not even using that verbiage because then you'd have to defend that literally, and you can't because we have academic peer-reviewed paperwork that proves so many different examples of systemic racism. And you're a modern woman. It's 2025. Fuck me, right? You got ChatGPT and Google. You could literally just put in studies, scholarly studies, examples, systemic racism. But you haven't done that. But you're on Clubhouse running your mouth. You're full of shit. And I'm not going to be nice about it. Shut up.
Hold on a second. Everybody, please. Look, I'm going to try. I'm not going to be on here long. I'm going to pass it to Nye and Sig and Vero in a second. But while we're here, at least let's respect the host. He's really adamant about letting there be one mic. Let's not demonize any other person. Let's talk about the issues, not the people, if we could. And then, these are tense, topics. They're hard topics, but let's be respectful, please. Sarah, please don't come off the mic, or I'm going to move back to the audience now. We had your ass in the audience.
Here, I'll go to the audience. I'm not going to sit here and tell me.
I understand. Okay. I wanted to hear Sarah, but I didn't move you. One of the mods.
I moved her because I'm tired of her mouth. Goodbye, Sarah. Just go down to the.
Oh, good, Sarah. Yeah, and hey, good, better, and different. Truth. I knew that wasn't going to go well. That's why I tried to move you away from it. So I said, let's not go down to the systemic rabbit hole. And you took the bait for it. So, Truth, I'm going to partially blame you for that. All good though. I got another one for you, Truth, because there's another one that doesn't believe in that BS systemic racism either. Keegan, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll recenter us into the subject of if I suffer from racial fatigue. I do suffer from racial fatigue. Okay, I suffer from really not the fatigue of race, but rather fatigue of the culture. I do have fatigue of Black culture. I don't believe. I believe it's become anti-American. It used to not be, of course, back in the 60s and the 50s, but it has become anti-American It lacks respect and like just being cordial with each other. I have many examples, just anecdotally, my own life that I have to deal with. I bet we all do, even black men and black women will have their own experiences with black culture. And so I am tired, and I am looking for the cure. CO, Sig, Vera, Nai, if anyone has a cure for my ailment, please help me.
And your
Listen, I'm waiting for the cure too. So I've mentioned plenty times on this space that I have black fatigue, and I do. Well, I'm reminded when I come here. Although I'm sorry to interrupt, I'll make this very quick, and I'll pass it back over to you. Then when I come in spaces like this, I get white fatigue because you have voices, and I'm not saying this applies to all white folks, but you have non-black people who deny racism, systemic racism exists. You know, they deny lived experiences. They deny laws that have been in place for years. They might not be laws that are, pushed today, but there's this blissful ignorance about the history of this country, especially how our land is soiled with the blood of blacks and natives, and yet you have non-black people, non-melanated people who will pound their chests and claim that it's all fake news and made up. So I have white fatigue, anti-black fatigue, and y'all know I have black fringe liberal fatigue. I'm not sure that there's a cure, Keegan, but if I find it, I'll let you know, sir.
Keegan, if we're just going by the situation that you presented to us yesterday about how you were at the park, playing with your child, and everything was copacetic until a black family pulled up and they were having a birthday party. When you have a birthday party, you have music. The music was too loud for you, and you said that you cussed them out in your head, and you said all other kinds of things, and you thought all other kinds of things, and you just left. The cure, I believe, would have been to go up to this nice family and ask them to turn their music down and give them the chance to maybe show you, that they weren't combative or anything. You said that there was a party, they had birthday cake, balloons. This wasn't a group of thugs. This wasn't a group of threatening people. And you just allowed in that moment. I think you were a coward, and I think you should have went up to them and asked them to turn the music down, and I think they would have obliged.
Philip, can I ask you a question here, based on your assessment? Again, I bet you, same as me, will sometimes use stereotypical cues to understand safety. If these individuals were wearing designer jeans that they were sagging below the waist, mothers wearing, Cookie Monster PJs and Crocs, and their hair was nappy, would you still feel the same way? Would you feel like these people were, and again, blasting rap music that was cursing? Would you still feel like these people?
I wish you would have went up and said the dog shit out of you. Sorry.
Well, exactly. That's what I thought.
So this is the thing. Like, what is nappy hair?
Hair that has not been properly groomed. It shows a lack of, again, just a lack of self-respect.
And what is life, Keegan?
So hold on. I'm just gonna ask him a few questions.
Tori, hold on though.
So can white people that have improperly groomed hair, can their hair be nappy?
Oh, without a doubt. Again, if this was a white family that came in beat up, again, they came in a GMC terrain that most likely smelled like marijuana. I never smelled it, but I just always assume. As a mechanic, I have been in many vehicles that end up being picked up by black people, and it's always smelling like marijuana. But I continue here real quick. If a white family came in white, beat up minivan, and they were wearing white beaters, and they were playing country music super loud, I would do the same thing. I would say, okay, I'm with my daughter by myself. There's no reason for me to go try to be respectful and act with decorum, knowing that these people probably lack the intelligence to do so. And I wouldn't talk to those white people. I would just leave the park. But I would just wish that they have their own self-awareness to have some type of respect to not do so. But instead they lack that, and they think that the park is theirs. which I only, again, have only experience with black.
Also, right, when I brought up the stat that black people receive the most hate-based attacks in America, you said that it's because we put ourselves in those predicaments. Do you still agree with that?
Again, not every single predicament, but we all, when we look at these type of metrics of what a hate crime is, the same thing when feminists say that 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted in the world, and then you look at the metric of what sexual assault means in those type of data points, and you find out that being catcalled is considered sexual assault in those type of data points. I wonder what they consider a hate crime, and we went through that, and we found out that again, the threat of possible violence is a hate crime. So we actually don't even know what is considered a hate crime in this country. That's why those data points actually doesn't.
Brother Othello, real quick. See, this is what we got to understand about people like Keegan, because we see this every single day. If you have social media, how many times have you seen black people just existing, right? I see every day, literally every day, a brother who works for Amazon trying to deliver a package, and somebody white stepping outside, ready to shoot him, ready to gun him down, calling the police on him. Somebody's walking the dog. Somebody's going. Can you give us that video? I didn't cut nobody. I didn't cut nobody off. Hold up.
No, let JT.
Can we have make one mic on JT, please? Oh, I'm sorry, Sid. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. JT, you got it.
I appreciate it. How many times have we seen black children trying to sell candy or trying to sell lemonade, and you got a Karen walking up on them, ready to call the police on them? See, the problem with a guy like is nothing that the black people were doing at the park, a public space, having a birthday party for children. It was just the fact that he had to see them enjoying themselves as black people in a park.
No.
Hold on, Keegan. Hold on, Keegan. See, Keegan, what I'm doing is I'm connecting the dots here, because your case is not unique in America. We see it all the time where black people aren't committing crimes, right? Minding our own black business, just like everybody else, but because you show up or because you're there, you have a problem with what's. Now the brother asked you, well, why didn't you just go over and ask the? Well, I'm afraid of them. That's always that's the reason why when the Karen, the police come up on the. Well, I don't know what they would do. That's why I called the police, because I fear for my life. I don't know what they would have done. So black people are criminalized when they're actually committing crimes. Black people are criminalized when they're trying to deliver packages on their job. Remember, that was a case last year where a brother was just trying to deliver a package and he got shot by a man because
and JT,
he was delivering a package.
Hey, JT,
right?
Hey, good points. Give you 30 seconds and then let's give Keegan.
Okay, yeah, no, cool. So my point is, the problem is not with the black people, because we're not talking about crimes being committed here. We're talking about people just enjoying their life, trying to have a birthday party. And see, for a guy like Keegan, that's a problem. So that gives him black fatigue, just understanding that black people are doing the same thing everybody else is doing, having a birthday party in the park. That's the real.
Keegan, you want to respond?
Real quick, I just want to
Hold on a second. One of the moderators is speaking. Go ahead, Sid.
Okay, thanks, yo. Yeah, just real quick, JT, I just want to let you know, you brought up the Amazon reference based on social media. I actually worked for Amazon in the delivery department. I was actually a driver for a year. Then I was an operations manager for 2 years, and I managed 80 drivers 7 days a week. What you're saying, it's not a common thing, brother. And we had to file incident reports, send those up to chains when things like that happen. They never came through like that, bro. 80 drivers a day, 7 days a week I managed for 2 years. What you're saying rarely, never even happened, bro. And this was not just my company that was working in that Amazon warehouse. There were probably about 15 other companies that had about 80 to 100 drivers a piece as well, and it rarely ever fucking happened.
JT. So that's just not true, man.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's what I've seen on social media. I'm not saying it happens every day.
Social media is crazy.
Yeah, I mentioned.
Say, can I get in there?
Well, wait a minute, JT's not.
Hold on one second.
No, I'm finished.
Can I respond? Hold on one second. Keegan, hold on one second. Let's just get the queue. A lot on the table.
May I get in?
Hold on one second.
Here, I'll keep the queue list. Who's next? Tell me the.
Yeah, let Nye know.
So Keegan's next. Who's after Keegan?
And who's next?
YB.
Okay, who's after YB?
Miss Clark.
Clark. Okay, who's after Clark? Frank, I see your back, but you never really know what's going on. You have a contribution. I see Beth is after Clark.
I'll go after Beth.
That's the cue for now. Pay attention to the moderators. We might get in between that. But go ahead, Keegan.
Yeah, so again, my response to JT, it's not that I didn't and don't care that a black family's enjoying their time. I don't have a problem. That park I'd never been to before, and I think that the reason why there's a lot of different ethnicities is actually there's government housing right by that park, and I did not know that. But when I was at that park, many different ethnicities there. Black, Indian, a lot of black and Indian. And I had no problem with it. My daughter played with a little Indian girl, a little black girl the whole time. I had conversated with the Indian husband the whole time. And when that black family came, other families left. Other black families left. We all saw what was going on. And that's what's interesting is that black people, when they will call out their own culture for being ghetto, for being ratchet, for being disgusting. And then when I'm a white person, go, man, I experienced this thing. I'm tired of this. I'm tired that every time I go to the metropolitan area, every single time I go to the metropolitan area, I see some ratchet ghetto crap that I hate. Just like when you go to the white rural area where it's just white trash and you get tired of the trailer park trash, I get tired of the same thing. I call out that all the time. I live in a town that has a trailer park on the outskirts of our town, and we literally have town meetings once a month about how can we clean this trailer park up. So, I'm just saying that it's because of gentrification, black people are now moving to the suburbs, and so I have more interactions with them. And I'm saying I do not enjoy the ghetto culture, and I don't enjoy the idea that we can't have some type of just respect and decorum for each other's spaces. And if you're going to play ratchet rap music for your birthday party in a park, expect some this is just disgusting behavior. And also, why would I don't understand why you're like, why would you not just go say something to them? Because we understand the stereotypical behavior of those type of individuals are willing to commit violence. If I want my daughter, I'm not going to put myself in any. And if I did, and there was a video of me getting knocked out, you know what the cops would say? That white man should have just minded his own business. He should have just said nothing. So
if you're more than 30 seconds, wrap it up. Hey,
White boy, I think.
Say it again.
He said man, I was saying boy. Sorry.
Before we go to the next person, Keegan, do you hate white trailer trash as much as you hate ghetto black?
Without a doubt, I think I actually probably hate white trailer trash more than I hate ghetto black.
I'll have to come back to you on that one. Hey, now who's next?
YB's next. Go ahead, YB.
Yeah, I will say this. I do have fatigue at this point. These racial conversations are kind of getting old. A lot of people are talking about the systemic racism situation. I don't believe it. It is to the extent of what people are saying, because there is really no policies that are really holding you back. If you're looking at the housing based on school zones, things of that nature, that's been in place since the 1800s, where local taxes were funding those schools, right? You might think it is systemic because mostly there are black people that live in those predominantly poor areas, but that's not a systemic situation, right? A lot of these scenarios or issues that people are having in America today, it's based on class. It's your social circle. Realistically, the wealthy blacks aren't having this issue at all. They're not.
Let me ask a question, YB, before we go to the next person, really. And I posted it early. Hey, thank you guys for joining the room. I'm bootleg hosting. I'm not as good as the regular host, but I'm just jumping in and trying to make sure that people have a voice and get to speak. The room is healthy debate. We've been talking about race. They've been doing it in a responsible way. We had a couple of people that obviously they showed themselves and their attitudes, but that's what we're here for. We're trying to find something productive and positive about it. We have a queue here right now. If you want to speak, just let us know. Moderator Naya Sig will acknowledge you. YB, let me ask you a question really quick before we go to the next person. Just today, without having to look into deep history and litigate the effects of Jim Crow, slavery, and all of the conditions of racism throughout the years, just a judge, a Reagan-appointed judge, federal judge, right, called the Trump administration, accused the Trump administration of appalling and palpably clear discrimination against racial minorities and LGBTQ Americans. And here's what this judge said that was appointed by, again, Ronald Reagan, right? I've never seen a record where racial discrimination was so palpable. I've sat on this bench now for 40 years. I've never, repeat, never seen government racial discrimination like this, said U.S. District Judge William Young, a Massachusetts-based jurist who took the bench in 1948. And for the record, he was referring to the illegal and voided NIH, National Institute of Health cuts that Trump has tried to make that alienates the culture. Now, we don't have to look far. That's just one of dozens with this current administration. And you say what?
You said the healthcare cuts?
Yeah, these were all of the healthcare cuts that Donald Trump made. This is one of dozens that I can use as evidence, right? You said it doesn't exist, so forth and so on. This is a judge that said he's never in 40 years seen this type of government racism. Tell me your opinion.
So you're saying that they cut healthcare costs for the underprivileged?
Before we get into the specifics of the cuts, these are the NIH cuts that Donald Trump made, right? Let's go with what the actual judge said over 40 years. And the answer is...
I understand that aspect of it, but I'd have to get a better perspective on, like, what are the cuts involving, right? Like, is it people that are making less money that can't afford it to where it would benefit those individuals? Is that what
No, it's price cuts to the companies, the major companies. That's what he's cutting, making sure they do better pricing for the American people.
Okay,
it's not about taking away benefits.
Hold on a second.
Right?
Hold on a second.
Welcome back, JB.
Hold on a second. Is anyone who's speaking now a judge or familiar with law or familiar with discrimination?
I'm getting benefits, though. I'm getting benefits, and they're not cutting my benefits.
You don't understand benefits at the legal level.
They're not cutting my benefits.
Whose voice is that?
That's Cool C at the bottom.
That's Cool C, the resident moron.
Yeah. Hey,
they're not stealing my benefits.
Okay, hold on a second. Hey, Cool C, would you let the gentleman respond, and then the moderator, the main moderator, is back. JB's in the house. JB, we were just talking. We had a queue. YB came on and said there's no racism. I repeated the article. I was giving him a chance. JB wanted to know. YB rather wanted to know. Well, what were the cuts about? YB, I would just say before we move to the next point, and then let JB reset the room. YB, if you could just tell me how you respond to what you actually heard. The legal expert that sits on the bench, appointed by Ronald Reagan, right, said he's never seen this type of racist bullshit in 40 years of him sitting on the bench. Your response?
Yeah, so you want me to just respond to a statement that he made?
Okay, let's just go to the next person. Hey,
how is it racist if it affects everybody?
Hold on a second. I know you guys hear my voice. CO, you're a moron. Be quiet. No, not CO. Cool C. Be quiet. You're a fucking idiot. But let me go back to CO. Who are you talking to, CO?
I was talking to YB, JB.
YB, did you want to respond to that question this young man had?
He wanted me to respond to a statement based on... That's it. Like, there's no other information behind it. It's very just like, there's just completely. I'm just
wait. Let me ask you a question. Would it be better if he gave you some clarity on the statement?
I've been asking for that. He didn't give it to me at all.
All right, let's see if he gives it to you now. CO, you want to give him clarity or no? CO? All right, he might have stepped away.
Yeah, so JB, the last thing I wanted to say realistically is, to like all the people that are having these quote unquote racial issues in America today, with all of this knowledge, with all this information that is out there today, how is that changing your life or making it any better?
Can I respond to that, JB?
Wait. Hold on. Changing my life?
No, not you specifically.
Oh, in general. Gotcha.
Yeah, in general, for like some of the people that are, like in JB, I mean it as in it's like.
Listen. You're YB. You've been in my space before. You don't have to hold your tongue. Say what you gotta say.
Oh no! I know. I'm just trying to say it in the best way possible. If somebody of like the community of my community, right, doesn't get a job, is deemed racist, which is kind of ridiculous. If they can't get a loan or a mortgage, they just deem it racist. If somebody says something to them, just that they would say to anybody else, they just deem it racist because it's coming from a white person, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Oh, thank you, YB. Thank you. Hold on. I know Mr. Clark. Okay, let me move him down because he has no mic integrity. I'm not playing. You come off mic, I just move you down. I don't give a fuck. But we're going to go Mr. Clark, and I think Othello said you wanted to chime in.
No, wait, Clark and then Beth was after Clark, just FYI.
Okay, so we'll go Clark, Beth, and then Othello. Ms. Clark, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that this conversation is kind of, I'm not even going to address what Keegan said. I think that we've got to a point where we tend to still assume that systemic is supposed to be like governmental power and laws on books, but we forget that systemic can also be a curated environment where these things happen. I often use the military as an example, as a prior military veteran, because I did see where certain departments and things had certain individuals that realistically I would never want to serve underneath, quite simply because they curated that environment. And I'm talking about like JAG has come back and investigated them for 10 years worth of discrimination and racial practices. I'm talking about like when you have people, and I'm just giving an example of it, of white airmen who have been caught with drugs, but the black roommate is the one who suffers the consequences and get out because they didn't tell or were unaware that they had the drugs. There's a lot that can go into this. And like I said, granted, if you want to try to say systemic is only on a level where realistically governments are involved, laws are in place, that's on you. But systemic can also be a curated environment. Like even when I live in the South, right? It is nowhere legal for there to realistically be sundown towns. And people operate in that way. But guess what? They still fucking exist, and I know where I can take my ass and where I can't. Even though, quite literally, there's no law in the book that says it's okay for there to be a sundown town. They still do that. They still have a system set up in place that people partake in to enact these things. And that's the part that I think has shifted. I don't think systemic racism is no longer the outward projection where, you know, your fire marshal, your judge, your policemen, and the regular people are involved. I do think that systemic racism has changed to be curated in certain smaller environments where it can be hidden better. Now, am I saying it's just completely rampant, like it's just, like Rip Tar out here? No. But when it does pop up, it's like this quick way to, and I will say this, when it does pop up, there's like this really hard push to make it seem like it doesn't exist. And then at the same time, my fellow black people, we do have a way of conflating, because I'm not going to get on to YB about what he said, because I do believe that black people conflate a lot of shit into racism when it's not. But when it's overt and it's there, it's still a push to act as if it doesn't exist. And that's why I use the military as an example.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Nye, I'm going to let you run it for a little bit because I just got back in. I'm just trying to catch up. Is that okay, Nye? Nye, Sig, Vero, CO? Guys? Anyone?
Yes.
Beulah? Thank you. I know Beth was next. That's all I know.
I'd like to hop in the queue.
All right, Beth and then Truth. Beth
and then JT.
It was Beth and Othello. It was Beth and Othello.
Was it Beth, Othello, then Truth, and then who was the last one?
JT.
Beth? Beth going once? Okay, there you go, babe. I heard you. I saw you. You good?
You need me.
You go
to the next person and then probably right.
You got it. You got Othello? Or is Othello then Truth?
Yes. So YB, I heard you say something. You said that racism in America doesn't affect well-to-do, wealthy black people. Okay? So if we just look to the housing appraisal scandal, that has been going on, I mean, forever, but they now focus on it in the New York Times, CNN, as well as other major news publications, that in the housing appraisal market, Black people in total have been devalued $162 billion by racist home appraisers. So these Black people, they go to college, they make their money, maybe outside of college, they buy a nice home, and when they're ready to sell, the appraisers come and they devalue the house 25 to 50% when it's a Black person. So they went undercover and they went into a Black home and they put a white family's pictures in there and they set up a fake white family. This is the news that did this. When that appraiser, when the appraiser did the home, he appraised it a whole totally different type of amount, right? So you're saying that this does not affect wealthy, the systematic racism does not affect wealthy Black people. It does. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So based on what I'm reading here, it had to do with specific low-income neighborhoods, right? So if you can tell me which wealthy Black person that it affected, right?
It wasn't specific low-income neighborhoods. There's multiple reports going around, and they're talking about the appraisal in certain low-income neighborhoods, but they're also talking about Black people who have homes in multicultural neighborhoods.
I have an example. I'm really sorry to cut you off. I have an example of a famous person. I cannot remember his second name, but Ryan, who did the Black Panther movies.
Ryan Coogler.
That article was supposedly 10 to 15 years old, though.
Yo, wait, hold on a second. We'll see you, fucking moron. I know you hear the lady speaking. Get her.
Yeah, like from my memory, he tried to get some money out, and they called the police on him and whatever else, right? That's one example.
Wait, what do you mean he tried? Hold on. What do you mean he tried to get money out of the house? I don't understand that.
Let me read the title. Of the article. It's widespread racial bias found in home appraisals. Researchers found that evidence of a persistent practice that gives higher values to homes when the occupants are white and devalue them if the owners are people of color. And that does not matter about the neighborhood. So even if it's in a low-income home, if a low-income neighborhood, if the white owner owns that home income neighborhood, he's going to get a higher appraisal. And when they did the total amount that was devalued from Black people who want to get their homes appraised in America, they've taken $162 billion from us just in home appraisals.
What year was that article? What year was that article?
Okay, give me a second.
That's old. It's like 10 years old.
May I speak to Alaska?
10 years is not a long time.
May I speak to Alaska, please? Because you also had the actor, you also had the recent actor, director, Ryan Coogler, who was a prominent Black man, who was a wealthy Black man, go to the bank to try to pull out money. And they racially discriminated against him and wouldn't even let him pull out of his own account, even though he provided them with all of the ID, all of the information, all of his bank card. And then they called the authorities on him. And he sat there and was like, they're like, why do you have so much money? He's like, I'm a director. And they're like, yeah, right. And he's like, no, I directed the movie Black Panther. And they're like, yeah, right. And then when he pulled up his picture, they were like, we don't think you're him. And he's like, my name is on my ID. My name is on my bank account. I just want to pull out cash. Can I just pull out some cash?
And so
it was like a full debacle.
Yeah, the article that I shared are from 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, if I could, and I don't know if JB's still here or not, but I wanted to ask a quick question.
Yeah, I'm here. Let me just say this 2 seconds. Everybody disregard Cool C. He drives cross country trucks. He's a serial killer. Just ignore him. Kids.
God damn. Okay, not a serial killer. Whatever. Hey, for whatever it's worth, I saw an article here recently that said that regions of town matter, and that it was said that I think Nevada, Texas, South Dakota, and New York have the most serial killers. I thought it was interesting. You guys can Google it. But hey, listen, Here's a question that I have, right? At the end of the day, there's been super intelligent people in here, and some remarkable positions are being made about the existence of systemic racism, how this affects Black people. We've heard people express how anti-Semitism affects and impacts Jewish people. But I would venture to say, right, using, for lack of a better whipping board, using Keegan's and the Keegans of the world as an example, right? Or even to some extent YB, that sounded as if he might be African American, but doesn't think, thinks African Americans complain too much. Miss Clark, Mrs. Clark, JT, Truth, what do you all feel about the fact that we've had these conversations for several years, right? But then all over social media, arguing with our friends that we went to school with all day, every day. We've given them statistics. I posted an article where a Reagan judge just said this is some bullcrap and it's racist as hell, right? The gentleman YB was like, well, I need to know more information. Like, basically what I'm saying is, will we ever get anywhere in these conversations, or what is it that has to happen? Because for whatever it's worth, the Keegans of the world, in my humble opinion, are the reason that Trump's in office. Because he only had concepts of a health plan, and the tariffs aren't really working that well. God, I'm just saying. I'm just being real. I'm just saying. I know, and I'll wrap it up here. The point I'm making is that sentiment, and it's a real part of America. And no matter how many times we give long speeches about what happened, I don't know if it's going to move the needle for the Allens of the world. Would somebody like to answer?
Yeah, let me say this. I'm not trying to change anybody's way, because respectfully, if you come across me in my part of town, I'm going to be honest, you might get a bullet put in your ass at this point. I think that what I've gotten used to is just excommunicating niggas who think a certain type of way and surrounding myself with people who realistically understand what's going on in the world and just keeping my head on a swivel. Like, that's all we can really do. I'm heavy on the separation part, like, realistically speaking. I believe to each their own. Like, Keegan can have his mindset, me personally. Keegan can have his mindset as long as he keep his happy white ass over there. He can sit there and cuss me out in his head all day. He can shout to the Lord and the demonic spirits of which enter his goddamn body, right? Just don't come fucking with me. And I think that's kind of like where a lot of Black people, people who think like me are getting. You can sit over there with your frumpy dumpy face all you want. Just don't come over here fucking.
Well, Ms. Clark, respectfully, hold on, Jordan. I don't speak for Keegan because I got to be honest, personally, I can't stand the guy. But he probably has the same mentality as you do. You stay over there, I'll stay over here. Just don't fuck with me, and let's move.
I agree, and I think that's the best thing we can do at this point. You stay over there, don't fuck with me. I ain't gonna fuck with you. Now, if you come over here fucking with me, I'm gonna put my foot all the way in your ass until it reaches the knee.
So, this is an extremely nuanced issue. As I mentioned earlier, when I was in jail or behind bars, let me use a couple other examples. I was once mowing the front lawn of my parents' house, right? And I was dressed in a very shabby way, so to speak. And someone pulled up and said, does the owner of the house know that you dress like that? So, there are implicit and explicit biases. Life is unfair, and we do have to kind of challenge social norms by making sure that we combat stereotypes all the time, right? When I was at a zoo as a zookeeper, I had a master's degree, and someone came up to an exhibit and said, you see that guy there? If you don't go to school, that's what's going to happen to you. Now, I have 3.5 degrees. I was born privileged. I lived in the house of my parents. I'm not suggesting that I've had so much overt trauma other than internal. But the point is, and when I was in jail, I had a shaved head, and people assumed that I was a white supremacist, although I don't have a single tattoo. So it is very hard. Like, there is a status issue where people do have to take some responsibility if they are going to perpetuate stereotypes, right? You've got to work around that to some degree. So when we talk about going to work, people have to dress appropriately for an interview. You have to take responsibility for certain things. Otherwise, people will run with stereotypes, weaponize them, and make and create harm for a whole population that's not deserving. So I do think that we need to honor archetypes, stereotypes, and do our best to be our best versions of ourselves. If someone is playing very loud music and they're being obnoxious, there's going to be some white, ignorant, white, racist person looking for trouble who's going to use that one reference to generalize for everybody. That's how stereotypes work. So I think there's something to be said for take accountability for yourself and try and influence the people around you to be better. Now, each one of those fucking times, I wanted to either jump into that guy's car and strangle that motherfucker for saying it, which wasn't really that big of a deal. He just, said I was looking shabby, but I took offense to it, thinking that I was, someone not good enough, right? The zookeeping thing, same goddamn thing. Very few white passing privileged people worked in zoos back when I was there. It was a passion of mine. But when that fucker said that, I wanted to fucking strangle him and his kid. So, I understand the reactive abuse, but there is something that we can do in some cases to take accountability. I'm done.
JB, if I can hop in now. I finally got rid of the measuring guy.
Hello, Beth. What was he measuring?
My house flooded out from my AC, and I have to replace.
I was joking, Beth. The mic.
Yeah, no. I was listening earlier about the park incident, and I had a friend this morning that I met on this app, but only lives a little south of me, right, in the best state, and I say it all the time, out of the 50, the great state of Florida. But he had to make a phone call this morning to let the police know he was coming into a prominent Black community with $1 million homes. I mean, you're not looking at just $1 million home, right? You're going in with 4 million, 5 million, 10 millions. And he's like, I'm going in with my sniper rifle. I got to call the cops real quick to let them know this white guy's coming in with a sniper rifle. I was like, what? Like, they called you to come out. So, and he's not killing anybody. He was there to get some animals out of the way. But, yeah, I think the tables can be flipped every once in a while and realize that, white people aren't always the problem. Like, he knew to take security and let the law enforcement know he was coming in to that property and why he was there. So that's all I had to say, JB. I just listened to the nonsense.
Okay, I'm gonna let Vero and other mods run it because I'm flirting with somebody in the chat.
Did I miss my turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's you, Truth.
I think it went on for popcorn for a bit, but yeah, go on now. It's your...
Appreciate that. So, because when my turn was up, we were talking about Sarah had said something to the effect that America is no longer racist, etc. So I was trying to think of the simplest way I can put it to the skeptics, right? So imagine a world where after World War II, the Nazis are defeated, but instead of being shamed and having the swastika banned, certain Germans just decided to fly it. They said, city rights, Nazi rights. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a Nazi and I'm proud. I'm going to fly the swastika. I'm going to fly it in my high school football game. I'm going to put it on the back of my Mercedes or my Beamer. I'm going to litter it with bumper stickers or et cetera, right? And they tried to normalize it. Now, that's what the Confederate flag is. The Confederate flag is literally a flag of treason on the cornerstone of trying to own another human being, specifically born out of hatred for that person. So it wasn't even practical indifference.
It was literally like, oh, they're subhuman. We sell their children. We rape their women. Haha. We beat them. Haha. Most of the men die in captivity. Haha. It's funny. We bruise these people. Haha. Right? And that culture is what the Confederate flag is all about. So anytime you hear someone trying to, no, it's culture, it's tradition. What's the tradition? Treason against America. You're insane. You're an insane person. Here's why that's relevant. The majority concentration of Black people are still in the predominant states in which they were predominantly slaves, right? We're talking about Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, etc. Guess where Confederate, because we have polls on this, we have data on this. Guess where the Confederate flag's the most popular? In those same states. And we have the numbers. The numbers are going to shock you. About 1 out of 2. About 1 out of 2 white people in the South view the Confederate flag favorably and as a symbol of pride and heritage. Heritage in what? Okay, so now what you'll try to do is convince me and anyone with a thinking brain, and this is why people laugh at America and why liberals can't stand, and I'm not a liberal, by the way, but as someone who's kind of center, I see two insane people arguing, and liberals have their own insanity. But this is where when they look at conservatives, like, you guys are in a fucking cult. You guys are like literally brain rotted. You're like, no, the Confederate flag, no, it's not. Literally the cornerstone speech they're giving, he mentioned slavery multiple times. No, it's not about slavery. No. Literally, you're fighting your own country to own a human being, and we're having arguments. Anyway. 1 out of 2 people in the South, white people, are flying that flag with favor or pride, or they look favorable to it. No, 1 out of 3 flies it. 1 out of 2 is favorable of it, so they don't look down on you for flying it. Okay. They fly that at football games, high school games. They fly it outside of certain courthouses. They fly it outside of certain military bases, which is so fucking ironic, right? You have a U.S. military base, and you fought a civil war, and you're flying the battle flag of the treason against that government. But okay, sure, whatever. Then you come and tell Black people, who the majority of us, like 80, 90% of us, are in those southern states, there's no racism in this country. This is why you get told to shut the fuck up, because no one cares to argue with a fool. You get told to shut the fuck up. And if you have any integrity, you'll go figure out if I'm full of shit. You'll go, yeah, he had a lot of dip on his chip. Is he right? Am I really that brain dead? Do I have my head in the sand? Am I in a cult? But you know how you'll prove me right? You'll just keep fucking blabbling and do no research, and you'll come back with the same talking points, no education, no research, no debunk. I just made a ton of points. You'll just blabble like I didn't make any sense. You won't address any of the shit I just raised, and you'll just beat around the bush.
Wait. Truth. When you say you, who are you talking about specifically?
All the people who like to put their head in the sand and say there's no racism in this country and there's no racism issues.
Got you. So I know Holly has a hand raised. Holly's a little Georgia peach. Yeah.
Okay. I missed your first part, but I heard you talk about the flag, the Confederate flag in the South, as indicative of racism still going strong, and that 1 out of 2 white people in the South believe that the Confederate flag is that they love their Confederate flag, right? Okay, I'm confused why. So I don't see it as that as a really good proof that, I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, by the way, but to say that the Confederate flag and I'm sorry, that's a little weak, bro. I saw a Black dude in a truck recently with Confederate flag going strong, flying out the back of that truck, man. I mean, Confederate flag, regardless of what the history of it is, we could over what the war was fought for. I think it's pretty clear. Yes, slavery was a big issue, but it's not the only issue. Like, the Confederate flag for most people in the South today is not symbolic of their love for slavery and their desire to enslave Black people again. Like, it's indicative of their love of freedom, their pride in the South. It's just you're doing too much with it, man. It's just that, because if the question was, do 1 in 2 white people in the South want slavery again, and do you hate Black people? I guarantee you the answer would be no.
So since neither of us can read minds, let's just make it really simple. How is the Confederate flag different than the swastika?
What? Bro,
Can I answer?
Your question?
Yeah, so just go ahead and make me sound dumb. How are they different?
Yeah, that was disingenuous, bro.
I'm just gonna...
Why y'all keep cutting in?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, she seems intelligent. It's a fair question. How is the Confederate flag different than the swastika?
How is slavery... Okay, first of all, Confederate
No, I didn't say slavery. I said the Confederate flag. Literally, the Confederate flag. How is it different than the swastika?
Okay, I guess if you want to mince words here, you're right. Like the swastika has a deeper history than just the Holocaust. So if you want to talk about what symbols mean to people, I mean, we could. What do you want to do here, bro? Like we could take this all day long. Like symbols mean different things to different people. But wait, truth. The swastika, by all intents and purposes, all across the world at this point in history, is accepted as a symbol of hate. Confederate flag. You living in the South, Confederate flag is not viewed upon as a symbol of hate. Maybe by you, but I'm telling you, that's not how it's.
Do you think black people agree?
Ask your black brethren who fly the Confederate flag what it means to them.
Black people don't fly the Confederate flag. And really
they
quickly,
absolutely do, ma'am.
Really quickly,
That doesn't mean
Wait, hold on. Really quickly for Holly. You saw a lone black man flying the Confederate flag. Did he have a white wife sitting in the passenger seat? Because I guarantee you, his wife wasn't black.
No.
Black people, by and large, don't
black
have
people in the
Confederate
South. You see how many have Confederate
Everybody,
Confederate flag.
Everybody, Vero, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I hate to say it.
I'm sorry.
No, I hate to. I grew up along the Gulf of Mexico. Get it right. But yeah, it's true. In Galveston, Texas, which is where Juneteenth kind of derived from. Even I grew up in Texas along the Gulf of Mexico, so we've been celebrating Juneteenth since I can remember. But even on Juneteenth, you would go down to Galveston, go to the beach, we hang out. People are driving on the beach in Galveston. Yeah, many other cities they do that, but Galveston, you're driving up. It's like a parade of cars, hundreds and hundreds of cars. You'll see black people with their black wives, their black friends, listening, shaking their ass to New Orleans jump music, New Orleans bounce, with the Confederate flag in the back. It's just the truth, and that's just the way it is. I don't know what it is, but
is it the Confederate flag or the rebel flag?
Good question. Touche. I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter though. Go. Hey, Truth, would you want to respond?
I refuse to even believe that. Anyone can give some ridiculous anecdote, and that's one of the most ridiculous I've ever heard. Luckily, we have more data on this. 90+% of black people report seeing it as a symbol of racism.
So, go ahead.
You find the one black guy out of the millions. I don't know even know what. I guess you're walking a very special path. I've never heard that in my life.
And you know what's interesting too, Truth, about what you're saying, bro, is that the same people who would say something like that and try to diminish what the Confederate flag has meant to literal descendants of slaves, right, are the same people who have no problem with Trump. We talked about earlier removing black heroes who fought for this country from the annals of history. The same people who were on the front lines of affirmative action and DEI are the same people who have no problem with legacy omissions that admits 3 times as many white people who just happen to be family members of people who went there. And that's what we talk about when we say systemic. See, when you talk about what the system of white supremacy does, it privileges you to the point to where you don't even have to be bothered with having to worry about. See, for you, the Confederate flag is nothing. It's fun and giggles, right? But when we see that, we see something completely different, because just as the brother was mentioning, how the swastika is seen for a Nazi. Look, we need to understand something, that the Holocaust lasted 3 years, right? There was approximately 6 million Jewish people who died in that process. There were over 10 million slaves that died on the way over here. And then the ones who survived got to the shores only to be raped, murdered, and enslaved for 250 years. 2.5 centuries. And then guess what? After that happened, you still had 80 years of black codes and 60 years of Jim Crow. That's 400 years of open white supremacy. And you still got people who think, well, white supremacy is not so bad. Well, black people are just always complaining. it's like y'all trivialize what we've gone through in this country. You don't want to give us reparations, even though we pay reparations right now, today in 25, to Native Americans. My ancestors ain't slaughtered nobody, ain't commit genocide. My parents paid reparations to the Japanese. We didn't put Japanese in internment camps. Everybody around here can get justice except Black Americans.
JT. I feel the energy, baby. I love it. Let me make sure, all white people or just some white people?
No, just some white. Obviously not all, JB. I'm talking to the ones who, which I prefaced it by saying the same ones who would agree and say crazy stuff like that are the ones I'm talking to. Obviously, we know that all white people aren't like that, but for the ones who submit to this ignorant understanding about race and about systemic racism, those are the ones who we're talking about. Because, and I mentioned in the chat, and I'll land with this, even during Jim Crow, JB, you had white people saying, well, Black people have all the privileges. White people are just, we're having to take a backseat to these Blacks. Like, the lunacy.
Well, JT,
whites, go ahead.
I just want to say I retitled the room. What does the Confederate flag represent? I think that's it. Hold on, Judy. Please let me do my reset. Thank you. Healthy debates. What does the Confederate flag represent? I'm getting, I don't even know what that is. Jalapenos thrown at me. What's up, Ellie? How you doing? Alpha, Mike Moon, Asia, I see you. Matt, Cool in the house. Lady MD, Rodney, Nikki, Ali, Michael, cashing your pink tickets, your cheap fucks. Thank you very much. Hold on, Jordan, man. Can I finish my fucking reset?
I didn't say a goddamn word.
I know, but when you come off, it's distracting. Thank you. Dude's been on Clubhouse 9 years. Yeah, Jordan, what do you have?
I was just going to say that, there's always a pecking order, and which is atrocious to have to even honor, right? But, people, terms evolve, things change, and if you don't know by now that the Confederate flag is offensive, that just kind of says you're white trash, right? Like, I hate to tell people that. So the point is, if something is offensive, you stop offending people. And if you continue to offend people, that's where racism comes into play, because you don't have regard for other people. And just because you think it's not insensitive, other people don't. Like, this is what white trash is. And I hate to say it because I'm not terribly liberal anymore, but in academic communities, the reason that esteemed professors, and they don't get compensated that well, but they're esteemed, is because they're extremely well read. They know what's offensive. This is why they're very careful about the Israeli-Palestinian issue. And I don't want to get into that now, but the point is, if you're offending somebody, that's all it takes. You don't have to use the language of woke, this or that. If something is offensive, like, even the fucking rock stars are smart enough to know this. The Dixie Chicks, who I'm not necessarily a fan of, they're now called the Chicks because they realized, wow, we didn't think that Dixie would be offensive to people, but apparently it is, so we're going to fucking stop. If you're white trash and you still are honoring the Confederate flag, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm a fucking egotistical, white privileged, white passing Jewish guy who's as obnoxious as fuck, but I've also been down at the very bottom, and that was still privileged, right, for me in my situation. There's no tolerance for white trash, and I'm just going to lay it out there. There's a reason.
Wait, Jordan, don't be. Let me ask you a question. Okay. I'm just stirring the pot because Vero said I'm being spicy.
Okay.
What about people's First Amendment rights to wave that flag?
No, I mean, you're entitled to that right. But if you want to continue to, if you're still out there offending people, like the smart people, I don't think celebrities are necessarily brainiacs, but they're publicists, and I know that now working in the space, they're smart enough to say, let's offend the fewest amount of people possible, whether we really agree on something or not, because our livelihood depends on it, and they're making more money than they'll ever need, right? So if they finally think it's smart to not permit a Confederate flag or to take Dixie out of the name, why does an average white Joe Schmo think that they deserve to have any fucking say in it. And I know Holly doesn't like that I'm talking to her, but this is true. This is what elitists think of white trash as. And this doesn't mean elitists are right, but that's what they think.
Thank you. So before we continue, everybody throw me some love and admiration because I changed my PTR. What do you think of my new PTR? Is that fantastic? That's my dog Enzo. I love this fuck. This is my ride or die right here. Okay, Holly, you want to push back on what Jordan?
I do, because he's kind of taking this conversation somewhere else.
No, I'm sorry.
Oops. Let me know if I lose y'all. He's taking the conversation a little somewhere else. So you're not actually talking to me. I'm not sitting here saying whether an individual should or should not wave the flag. The point was countering whether the flag is indicative and the way that of racism still existing in that capacity, right? Like using that as a metric to judge how racist the South still is. The point is, whether or not it offends Black people that doesn't tell us whether the individual waving the flag is doing it in order to offend. It doesn't tell us whether the individual waving the flag is doing it because it's a symbol of racism for them and that's what they want to espouse. Whereas the swastika, I mean, I could be wrong, but my impression, again, I might be wrong, is that those who wave the swastika around, it's pretty clear that they're doing it because they want to express that they don't like a certain group of people. I mean, whereas the Confederate flag, I'm sorry, that's not the case. I'm not saying that every Confederate flag owner is not a racist. I'm saying that in my impression as a Southerner growing up, I never was under the impression.
Hold on, Alaska. Hold on, Alaska. Holly, I love you like a fat kid loves cake, but I don't think I've ever disagreed with you more with everything you're saying right now. But I know Alaska wants to have a dialogue with you. Yeah, guys. Alaska.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was seeing if that... I was right. I was waiting to see you because I thought I cut you off. It's about context, right? Like, if I saw a swastika and I was in India, for example, my first inkling would be to look at the greater context of wherever I've seen this, and it probably in that context would be something to do with the religion there rather than, swastika. So it's about context. To me, it's an empathy thing, right? Like there's certain things I don't do because I don't know who, especially in public, because I don't know. I don't like doing it, but also I wouldn't want someone to be of another race or culture and be offended because I'm just fucking around. Like it doesn't seem like that big of a price to pay. It's just manners, in my opinion. At the very least. Can I jump in? But I'd like to know, like, what about the flag, what about that flag specifically do you love so much that you can somewhat, in a light manner, kind of shoo away the other historical context of it?
Because, again, you guys keep talking about it like we're trying to defend the flag as something we love. First of all, people like the flag because it symbolizes a historical moment, a big time, which, in their opinion, we were fighting for the freedom to make decisions, okay? Whether those decisions are, you like them or not, whatever. I mean, there were Black Confederates too, right?
Wait, to make what decisions?
It's about pride.
Sorry?
To make our own economic decisions. It was about states' rights. Some people are, I'm just telling you what some people argue.
Yeah, but
not everyone.
No, I'm from the UK, so I'm just asking which states' rights specifically.
Well, so at that time, the federal government, there was this kind of debate of what, I don't know, I'm not a historian, but like my understanding is there was debate between how much control the federal government should have versus states' rights. And, yes, slavery was a big part of that. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there aren't Confederates who are who still think that was good. I mean, that's kind of weird to me, but okay. But I mean, tell me, again, my question still remains, why are there Black Confederates? Why are there Black people waving the Confederate flag? Do you think that they agree with slavery? And regardless, that, again, not everyone I would argue to you that the majority of people who wave the Confederate flag on their house or whatever, it is not a microaggression of them being slavery backer or hating black people. I don't agree with that. I'm
So
sorry.
this is the thing, though, right? It's like how other people interpret it. It only takes one person in the crowd to be offended. It's, COVID was a better example. And again, I'm very moderate. But if you don't want to wear your fucking mask at your house, that's up to you. Because someone in your family's infected, that's up to you. Like, you can do your own damage. But if you go into public and there are sensitive populations in public and you choose not to wear your mask and you get them infected, that's a real world consequence. With the Confederate flag, you could argue that's a more innocuous example. But the point is that when intellects develop, they realize, hey, that I didn't realize how offensive that could be. I'm going to stop doing that because it's upsetting to someone. It's okay to say, hey, I used to do that, but the person who's the problem is the one who continues to do that. It's like, it's okay to evolve because people make mistakes all the time. But when you find out that you're offending one person, even if they're people of color with the Confederate flag, that's not your problem. Your problem is to not perpetuate harm for others, right? They might be perpetuating harm, but you don't have to be part of that system.
Can I say something though? Like, I think it's a stupid question to sit here and be like, and we have to start calling out like stupid.
Ms. Clark, could you say that again?
We got to start calling out stupid redundancy and people thinking they got to one up on a question. I can tell you a myriad of reasons why Black people carry that flag. One, because they're uninformed. Two, because guess what? You have people who side with their own fucking demise. Like, we act as if back then we didn't have Black people turning in other Black people who were escaping to freedom. You don't think that they had some type of loyalty to the South? Like, there's a myriad of reasons. I understood, like, and that's the reason why, too, I also asked the question, like, to sit here and be like, oh, people don't carry this. Last time I checked, when the white supremacists are out here rallying, one of the main flags they goddamn carrying is goddamn Confederate flag.
Wake it up.
Like, we're not about to sit here, and I really hate when people play stupid, because I know you're not that stupid, because if you are that stupid, you don't need to be having this conversation. So I'm going to call out the redundancy and the idiocy, because I'm hoping that you're actually smarter than this, than to sit here and do this. But one thing we got to stop doing also, stop going back and forth with people who are intentionally being obtuse. Because I'm not for educating stupid bitches.
Mrs. Clark, can I ask you a question? Amen. Wait a minute. No, let that breathe for just a second. I say the same thing. These people be so blissfully ignorant and proud and loud and raw on the mic. Just let them talk. Let them reveal themselves. Don't go back and forth with these demonic energies. Ms. Clark.
Here's the thing, and I appreciate what your submission, Ms. Clark, and I appreciate you too. If you guys would entertain me, let me try to make a long story in 60 seconds, right? In 2015, when everybody was at war, just like we are now in this divisive world, there was a march because people were taking down the Confederate flag from capitals, right? And I had a bird's eye view, for whatever it's worth, in Jackson, Mississippi, as a group of people marched from Jackson State University to the capital of Mississippi with a series of speeches. And a civil rights leader's wife, widow, spoke. Merle Edwards spoke in that space. The KKK was at the base of the hill. Several hundred people were there, good, bad, or indifferent. And after she spoke, there was an 80-something-year-old white woman. She could probably almost Holly from what I could see in the PTR, right? She came over and she grabbed Merle Edwards, Medgar Evers' widow, and she grabbed her and she started crying and she hugged her, right? This is a true story. And without going into all the details, someone asked her, what did you just say to her? That was such an emotional exchange. And she said, I heard on the news that you guys were coming to take down this Confederate flag. And she said, I just came up here to apologize to her. And this has been sitting in my soul all of this time. She went through all this stuff. And she said, I just wanted to apologize for what I did back then. She said, they told me back then that Martin Luther King and them were communists. They were coming to take our guns and take our way of life. And I'm just so sorry for what I did. Now, this lady could have been a part of lynchings. I don't know if she knew the secret or who shot who. I don't know. But here's the fact of the matter. The moment crystallized something for the people that witnessed what this 80-year-old white woman that looked like Holly said. it said that she was genuinely, where we might say these people are blissfully ignorant, you can feel her compassion, her empathy, and her redemption. She was genuinely confused in that moment. And what she said was, they fooled us now, they fooled us then, and they're trying to do it again now. But the moral of the story being, throughout history, people are pit against one another for power and politics and greed. And it really made me understand why Daryl Davis, if you guys want to Google him, the guy that disrobed 200 plus Klansmen, it made me realize why he was so effective. That these people, some of them are subjected to information and they really don't know. Can I be truthful with you? I believe Holly believes what she believes and doesn't see anything in it. And what it speaks to, and here's where I'll close, people don't realize the difference in the Third Reich and what we're dealing with this Confederacy is how people see black people, one. And two, the Third Reich wasn't as good as the Lost Cause and basically whitewashing the whole Confederate cause and making it seem like some noble cultural event. They strategically spent a dozen years putting up those Confederate statues and making them seem like heroes, and that it was about states' rights and choices. And everybody knows, according to the head of the Confederacy at that point, it was literally about slavery and nothing, damn near nothing else, for whatever it's worth. And they were treasonous and they were anti-American. My point here in closing and landing is there are legitimate people who are good humans that are just confused by the deluge of propaganda and misinformation. And I'm not saying they deserve our compassion, but they at least deserve our consideration.
Yeah, I wanted to say something real quick. Can we?
Let me get into that to you, bro.
Yeah, so I have a picture of a black guy who was raising the Confederate flag. Honestly, I live in the South. The Confederate flag honestly doesn't bother me at all. There was a meaning behind this flag, and it literally stated the union between the southern states. Realistically, everything else I feel is if it's just being conflated just based off the history of what happened during that time. But realistically, it doesn't affect my life at all. I'll also say this too, to the people that have an issue with it, do you really feel like it's like, is anybody like going to you with this flag and like offending you with it?
And before we answer that question, YB, respect your opinion. Didn't doubt that you live in the South, and I hear it, and you've made your point.
Do you doubt that I live in the South?
No, I didn't doubt that you live in the South. It's okay. Yeah. YB, appreciate your opinion. Heard it before. Did anybody want to respond to actually what I said and the conditioning, where basically my point has always been, this is literally an issue, just like if we want to compare it to the Nazi Third Reich regime, the propaganda was the issue. It was demonizing that group of people to make them feel as if they weren't worthy of anything. And I'm saying that's the hard part. When you make understand what this means to black people, and then you can just callously laugh at it and look at it like you guys are stupid for feeling this way. I'm saying this is a condition that's deliberate in how people make us pit each other one against each other. Anybody have any?
Wait, CEO, I had one more thing to say. CEO, CEO, you interrupted me again to where I lost my train of thought. I didn't even get to complete my full statement.
Let me give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Okay, cool. So the whole talk about 400 years, I get that, but at the same exact time, everybody has to have smoke for the Spaniards, the French, and the Portuguese, because they are the ones that brought majority of black people, including my family, to the Americas, right? They were the ones that did it in mass, right? Everything else just was a trickle effect of what was just already happening, right? They're the ones that started it. So to have this smoke for America, that I get for everything that happened after the fact, but majority of the smoke needs to go to them, in all honesty.
Okay, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. Anybody else want to respond?
I do.
Holly,
I wanted to go next.
Hold on a second, Holly. Who's after Holly?
Jody.
That was me. I've been waiting, but no, I'm gonna let the lady go first.
Okay, Jody. Yeah, ladies first. I think that's what JB would want. So Holly, go, and then Jody.
All right, CO. I like what you said. I do. I just want to get some things straight here because I feel I've been quite mischaracterized. I appreciate that I hear what you're saying. It's offensive. I get that. I'm going to go back to the initial reason why I spoke up. I was countering the claim that the metric, by using the number of people with Confederate flags or that view it as a symbol that is worth waving in the South, I do not believe that that is a quality metric to use to measure the prevalence of racism. That's my only contention, because regardless of what it means to you, I'm telling you that in my experience, this is all anecdotal, I'm saying I disagree with it because in my experience, it is not a symbol of racism to those that I know and the people that I know that wave it. It is a symbol of freedom. It is a symbol of Southern pride. Okay, so that was my only contention. I'm not saying I think it's a symbol of pride. I'm not saying I wave the flag. I'm not saying we should wave the flag. I don't really give a fuck. If it offends you, I'm sorry. Maybe it's not a good idea. I don't really fucking know. I'm saying it's not a good metric for measuring.
We heard you every time you say that. Hey, Holly, have you ever by chance read or just Googled what the lost cause is at all?
I've not, CO, but let me say, the reason I've said it multiple times now, CO, is that I'm being lambasted. And by the way, I don't appreciate this because my livelihood depends on my reputation. No, I am not okay with people making comments about me going to Daughters of Confederacy bullshit. So all you motherfuckers in the chat, fuck up. Thank you. Yeah, you little bitch. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was
hold on a second. Holly. So listen. So basically, what you're saying, you want us to respect the fact that something offends you. Point noted. Hey, Jody, go ahead.
Fuck no, bro. Okay, now I'm being mischaracterized.
You guys don't know how to listen. You guys are bad listeners.
Can I respond?
Hold on a second. Hold tight. Let me just hold tight. Oh, sir. No, Holly said that she was offended, right? I said you want us to respect the fact that she's offended. She said she's offended.
She literally said that she wants to respect the fact that people are offended by the Confederate flag. She literally said that she's not encouraging people to wave it, and she literally said maybe we shouldn't be waving it. What I heard her say, fuck whatever. I'll go on mute. That's cool. I'll go ahead.
Okay, hold on, my friend. So here's the statement I made. She also literally said.
Now, here's the thing that I was in the middle of a sentence. Hold on 1 second. You don't get to tell me hold on 1 second while I'm in the middle of
She's
fucking
literally a moderator. Who are you to come into these fuck room and just bogart, brother?
Okay, so we put him back in the thing. So hey, Jody, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I did. That pissed me off. Like, I mean, how he goes, you the moderator, ain't you?
It's okay.
Am I mistaken?
No worries, sir. We can go back to the point.
We moderate.
Thank you. All right. Anyway, I literally live in the South, man, South Georgia. I think y'all were familiar with Hazelhurst, Vidalia, that area. And let's be for real, man. I lived in Atlanta. I lived in South Georgia for a while. Look, the Confederate flag. Let's stop it, man. That's their last middle finger to the North. To black people. Okay, it's their final act of rebellion. For many of them, I don't disagree with Miss Holly. There are some Southerners. It's a Southern pride thing. It's a cultural thing. But that's a very small faction of white Southerners. Very small. Very small.
And that's what they.
But the vast majority of them, it's a middle finger to the North. It's their final act of rebellion. Their big point is we lost the war, we lost control of black people. At least we can still wave our flag.
Yeah.
And come on, man. And let's use common sense. When you see these white nationalists, these openly racist groups marching, besides the swastika, what's the other flag they're waving? That speak. Come on, man.
Yeah, neo-Nazis and neo-Confederates tend to run hand in hand for whatever it's worth. Did someone else? Thank you, Jody, for that submission. JB's back. Yeah, the host of the room is back, so he can make sure that everybody gets a voice. Anybody else wanted to speak?
Oh, Jordan's going to interrupt me anyway, but go ahead, Jordan.
So, yeah, this is the same thing that's emerging with the term Zionist, right?
Like, and again, I'm all in favor of condemning the Confederate flag because I think it's ridiculous when it offends someone, or when it starts to offend a population. That's time to take it down. If you resist and persist, you are perpetuating racism and discrimination, ultimately. But with Zionism, for example, there's a new movement to stop the use of the word Zionism because some people, not all people, are weaponizing it, right? And so if I come in a room and there are other Jewish people in the room and they're not offended by the term Zionism or Zionists, but I am hypothetically, then you're offending, then someone is offending someone. And so even if there are Jewish people to apologize, accommodate, whatever, we can't control other people in that regard, but we can tell others that we're offended, right? And so I'm just using this as an example. This is how language gets weaponized and evolves over time and becomes highly problematic. So if you find the term Zionist problematic and other Jewish people don't, right? You are accommodating this language in these spaces, right? And this is how I see the issue with the Confederate flag. If you're offending one person, whether aliens are using the flag, if people of color are using the flag, it doesn't matter. You've offended one person, and this is not my liberal viewpoint. This is just common decency and courtesy, right? And so I think that you coming up with a few more examples is not a terrible idea, because I think the Confederate flag is a great example of being permissive of something that is entirely inappropriate in this era.
Jordan, let me jump in. Thank you for that shit. So I want to read something in the chat. JB wrote, Sarah, fuck you respectfully. Healthy debates is just fine because your covert racist doesn't give you the right to cry every fucking second. See, you're the problem with this world, Sarah. You sit there and you punch at people, but when you get punched back, you're like a little fucking CUNT. Stop your bullshit. If you don't like my fucking house, get the fuck out. That Leave Quietly button's been the best feature on this app since this app came on. I'm sick and tired of you fucking gaslighting the chat, gaslighting the room. If you don't like it, go cry to Roger and stay in his spaces. But I run some of the best fucking rooms on this app, and that's a fact. Alaska, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, as I was going to say before Holly jumped in and called me a bitch, that I'm sorry that I made a joke about you not being able to respond because you were on the way to a Daughters of the Confederacy meeting. That was a joke. So firstly, yeah, I really do apologize for that. Secondly, what you said your claim was not your claim at all. You never said, like, we weren't talking about how to rate different parts of the country by how racist they are via this flag. That was never a thing. Two different speakers also said to you, like, mentioned the fact that you were laughing and making light of something that's not something to laugh about for the majority of people in this room. So, you know, I just pick a lane. Do you want to make fun of stuff and, like, have jokes, or, like, am I not allowed to? Just let me know what the rules are and I'll treat you in that manner. Yeah.
Okay, you're wrong. He was not metric.
Like,
so,
Alanis Morissette.
What was I laughing at? What specifically was I fucking laughing at, bitch? Fuck off. You know what? I don't want. You know what? You're a little cunt. I'm gonna get out so I can cool down.
Bye. Tea is usually good. Like, chamomile helps me.
Oh, fuck, shut the fuck up, you little condescending.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies. Let's not be passive aggressive either. Let's just move on.
I'm being full-time aggressive. There's no.
You were being forward aggressive for sure, Holly. You sure are.
Well, let me jump in real quickly. So here's what I heard, right? I left this room, and then I got 2 text messages that Holly was getting punched down on. Now, Holly's a big girl. Trust me, she's battled with some of the biggest influences on this app. So I'm not here to white knight or save her, put on my cape. But we're all entitled to our opinion, even if you disagree with it. Now, here's the problem I have. When 2 hot chicks are fighting, let them fight. Back to you guys.
Okay, as a woman, though, I don't want to embarrass ourselves by just throwing out slander. But for sure, I wasn't talking about you, Holly, being passive-aggressive. I was actually talking about Alaska being a little passive-aggressive with the chamomile tea. But hey, that's your thing, too. I'm with it. But I wanted to get back to the points and to the conversation, of course. Right now, it's the Confederate flag. What does it represent? Today, if any flag is offensive, I mean, like, some people are offended by the LGBTQ, And I put in the chat earlier, rainbows used to be all over my Lisa Frank folders and binders in elementary school. You know, now people can't even look at a rainbow without being like gay. I saw an iridescent. Do y'all know what iridescent means? If you're a mechanic, I was a mechanic in the military. So if you're a mechanic, you know what iridescent means. It's an oily look. When the light shines and the spectrum moves about the oil, it turns rainbow, right? I saw some man with an iridescent glass, like, I'm not drinking out of a rainbow cup. And I'm like, oh my God, sir. What's going on here? All right, symbols change throughout time. The swastika meant something, still means something. In India, yes. Over time, it's meant something else. I think that just needs to be respected. I'm from Texas, right? I don't wave the Confederate flag. I live in New York City now. You know, I don't wave the Confederate flag. I don't do that because the symbol has.
Well, Vera, you know, Queen Elizabeth was a mechanic in the army as well. Beautiful. What's up, Legend? Legend Film Labs, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening? What's going on, room?
So, what does the Confederate flag represent?
Can I interrupt, JB?
He's such an asshole. Go ahead, man. Just a warning. Nobody ever get in a car with this guy speaking right.
She's absolutely right. Not only do these symbols change and evolve, some people weaponize them like presidents of the United States to bring back symbolic imagery and messaging to be provocative, to conquer and to divide and conquer, to create chaos, to distract us from things. There is no simple excuse for why Donald Trump is ecstatic about the Confederate flag. He knows what it symbolizes, and he's ecstatic that people are dumb enough to use it thinking that it means something else, because it's benefiting all of what he is hoping for. So this is another reason to be sensitive. This is another reason why the ignorance is so hard to believe, right? It's because these people know that Donald Trump is using this symbolic imagery to divide people and polarize us, right? And so that's even worse. So I am friends with Holly, but I'm very disappointed in how she feels about this, because it is so triggering for people, and it's one of those things that you just don't have to do.
Well, Jordan, let me ask you a question. I can't speak for Holly. She's not in the room. Hopefully she comes back. But we'll use Holly as an example. Do you think Holly has pretty privilege or white privilege that she feels the way she does?
Probably yes, because she simply could have apologized and said, hey, I'm sorry that it's offensive to people. I'm going to think again about it. Because otherwise I might think, wait, maybe she's attached to this idea that the Confederate flag is something that should be used. Like, that was an easy out for her to just say, hey, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry, right?
Well, Jordan, how come my pretty privilege doesn't work on this app? I've tried to use it, nobody fucking falls for it. I don't know, man. Look, Holly's conditioned the way she is, maybe because where she lives, her lived experience. I don't know. I'm not going to stick up for her. But it bothers me when we get to this point of toxicity where people are calling people the C word. You know, we're never going to break through with these type of conversations.
Well, here's the thing: is that in her case, she could have de-escalated. She knows where the direction this conversation was going to go. So in this case, and I feel bad that she's not here, but she pushed it, because she could have simply said, hey, that's a perspective. You know, I'm going to think about that, and dropped it. But she's the one who allowed people to become reactive, pushed a bit of an agenda.
Well, Jordan, let me say this real quick, man. See, we got like this dingling in the chat, Sarah. See, this is the problem I have, Jordan. I want everybody to listen to what I'm going to say. You don't have to agree, but just please hear me out. We use words so liberally, right? The CEO was attacking her point. I don't know if he was attacking her personally. I wasn't here. Okay? She calls CEO a racist. Now, Sarah, I'm a little smart. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, on the stage, or in the world, right? But here's the deal. I'm smart enough to know who to make my mods. Jordan, a nice Jewish man in California. Vero, she scares me, but she's a nice lady. Nye, I will always mod Nye. She respects the space. Okay? CO and I have built a rapport off this app. I got to know this man personally. Right? I'm the cracker in the corner. And I don't think he's a racist at all. I want to, if I can empower him for his beliefs, I'm going to do it. The problem is people like you, Sarah, who have fucking blinders on and don't want to hear people. You listen to listen, not listen to hear. And that's the problem. You live in your little fucking ivory tower. Yeah, because you're the one that's talking the most shit in the chat, Sarah. That's why I'm addressing you.
Wait,
to be honest with you, I'm going to be respectful now. I'm so sick of her bullshit and her fucking victimhood. She loves to poke at certain communities, but when they poke back, oh my God, he's a racist. He's a misogynist. Listen, crying Karen, your days are over. Cancel culture's done. Go ahead, Nut.
I just know she said in the chat that I moved her because, wait a minute, what does it say? Because she said she likes black men. Now I like black men. Oh, can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you.
I can hear.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear her, yeah.
Yes, please.
I just want to address this. Sarah says in the chat that I removed her from the space because she said she likes black men. Since I didn't even hear you say anything like that, if I had heard you say that you like black men, I would have told you to take a big BBC and shove it in your mouth and shut. I removed you because you just kept going on and on and on and on about absolutely nothing. I didn't hear you say you like black men. On that note, take a BBC and put it in your mouth and chill out. Or sit and spin on it, sis. Take your pick. One thing we will agree on, the far left is reason why I have left the Democratic
Is it me or do I not hear it?
So
I hear her.
I agree with you on that point, Sarah. The fact that you like BBC, congratulations. You won an award. I don't care, sis. Sit and spin on it, okay?
Wait, let me ask you a question, and I'm being serious. If she likes black men, does that make her less racist because she likes to fuck with black men?
No.
I'm just asking seriously. You know, because she says some racist shit in the chat, but then she'll say, "I think that wasn't meant to be racist."
Oh, sorry, it's a classic
Mr. JB,
sexualization of, there are so many books on this.
Can I shed light on that just a little bit, Mr. JB?
Please do, Jody.
I don't know her personally, but I know the mentality. I've dated black women, white women, but these days I've come back to the chocolate side of things. Just some toxicity over there. But yeah, as far as most white women, we're just a fetish, bro. They can be just as openly racist, want us dead, but they love the BBC. The BBC is in right now.
I'm not white, you dumb fuck. I'm not white.
Was that to me? I just said I wasn't addressing you, man.
Exactly.
You don't have to be white to be
if
racist.
Someone says, listen, if you didn't hear what
have
they
white
asked
privilege.
Me, they asked
Wait, guys, hold on, Sarah. Guys, please don't interrupt Sarah on her racist tirade.
They asked me, what do I like about black people? And I listed a bunch of things, okay? And I joked at the first. I said, oh, I love black men. You know, the fact that when someone says the men of your race are desirable, you refer to them as BBC, it actually shows how low you see the men of your own community, of your own race.
I like big
You
black
need to go home and sit down and reflect on that.
Wait, Sarah.
No, you need to go and reflect on that.
Sarah, I have a question for you. Is it true about BBC or is it a myth? You would know better.
I'm not answering that, but I said it's because they have a culture, they respect their mothers, they're soft, they're nice, and you refer to the men of your own community as BBC, like they're worth nothing other than getting fucked or getting fucked by them. That shows how low you think of your own community. That's all I'm going to tell you, Naya, because that is not what I said, and that's just disrespecting black men.
Let me just say this to Sarah in the
talk
room.
about the men of your own community like.
Let me just say this to Sarah in the room. Sarah, in your response of two things. I'm Generation X and I'm a Capricorn. You know what that means? I don't give a fuck about what you're talking about, Nick.
Hey, JB, for shits and giggles, just so you know, I'm the one who asked Sarah what she liked about black people, and she gave a couple of positive comments, and I literally applauded her and said, over several days of interacting and engaging with her, this is the best moment I have. I almost wanted to shout Sarah was catfished for a couple of seconds.
CO, no matter what you say, our opinion of you has already been formed.
100%. So, Sarah, did I not have a positive moment with you on the stage?
You did. We were having a very genuine conversation, and I know you had a positive moment because of my comments, you always thought differently, and that's why I always laugh at people. I'm like, I am not.
No,
So wait, CO, so hold on.
That moment doesn't undermine all the other BS. But
it's okay. No, I'll let you guys have the dialogue. But Sarah, let me ask you a question. If you had a moment with this gentleman here, why would you call him a racist?
You told me give me a name. I looked at the stage. I was in, I don't know.
But why do you say that's racist?
Because he called me racist earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Because he doesn't like non-whites.
He likes me.
Yeah, but I doubt that, sir.
I don't know if he likes you or not, JB.
You don't know my history, sir. So anyway, and JB, and with Holly,
Truth, I don't want to talk to you. You're an anti-Semite. You hate Israel. You hate Jews. You want to watch Israel getting wiped off the map. That's why you have issues with me. You know what? You and I, we had issues in another house, in another room, and you dragged it here, and then you told me I'm full of shit. You told me to shut up, and then I moved me to the audience, you know.
How do you know? Wait, Sarah, how do you know it was Nye?
I told her it was me.
She owned it.
I love Nye.
And I love Nye too. That's why I was shocked because I've been disruptive and I wasn't today. But she moved me down to the audience, so I'm like,
in defense of Nye, just really quick, guys.
Real fast, I don't know you. We've never talked before, and I'm not an anti-Semite. Like, what the fuck?
Hey, hold on a second, Truth. In defense of Nye, hey, Sarah, Nye didn't move you because you were racist or that you didn't have opinions. Because of why I see you getting moved before. You literally jump off mic all the time when other people are speaking. And it was the mic discipline that made her move you because somebody else was making a point and you kept interrupting.
He was cussing me out, CO.
Yeah, no, I understand, but whatever it was,
I remember. Did you guys tell him to not personally attack me? No, but I was removed.
Yeah, well, you kind of sort of attack people too, Sarah. Sarah, stop being a victim all the time.
I learned it from the best.
Sarah, I don't normally address you. You come on the stage, you say what you want to say. I don't address you in the chat. I don't get worked up with whatever you talking about in the chat. Personally, I don't even pay attention to what's going on in the chat. But to CL's point, that's precisely why I removed you. I didn't even hear what you were saying when I removed you. It was all about just mic discipline, right? So if you take that personally, that's on you. Again, no personal. I have nothing against you, Sarah. I don't even know you like that, right? They call you a racist in the chat. I don't pay attention to what you be talking about. You come up here and go on and on and on. You don't believe racism is real, systemic racism. Why would I even address you?
Sarah, let me wait. Jordan, hold on 1 second. Jordan, I got you, Jordan. But let me ask Sarah just one question, then I'll probably get a dip because I'm starving. Sarah, what do you think is more racist, MAGA or black men? Who do you think is more?
I don't know. Don't drag me in this. I'm not going to answer a question. From now on, I'm not answering questions that you guys don't like my answers because then people like Truth, they're going to come off their mics, tell you to shut up. Look, his mic is open right now. He cannot. I don't see Nye throw him down to the audience because he's black. That's amazing. You guys didn't remove a single black person from the stage today. But I was like, what, the fifth? And then after me was the other dude, which he really did deserve to be thrown to the audience.
All right, we're done. All right, thank you. Holly's back. Holly, have you cooled down, Holly? I got you, Jordan. Hold on,
I'm sorry. I lost my shit. Sorry.
No, listen.
Sorry, Alaska. Sorry I called you name.
Listen, Holly. In America, you can call somebody the cunt all you want. Freedom of speech.
Yeah, but I don't like that. So I'm sorry, Alaska.
Sarah, for the record, last week
it's okay. I'm sorry that I upset you that much for real because I'm sorry.
Hold on, really quick. To Sarah's point, Sarah, last week we had a black radical on the stage who called me a dirty cave bitch for defending a black gay man. I removed him from the stage multiple times.
No,
So this idea that you have that I don't move Black folks from the stage. So far, I've had no reason to do that, right? I don't generally remove anyone from the stage, regardless of what they're saying. Like I've said before, like a couple days ago, Pepe in a previous room called me a stupid black bitch. Pepe comes up here. I don't give Pepe shit, and I never once remove him, no matter what he's saying. So I let people come up here, whether I agree with their points or not, and speak. I don't remove folks on the stage from the stage. I just happen to remove you today, just like I'm sure my voice annoys some people in here. You quite annoyed me because you kept coming off the mic being disruptive. That's why I removed you. It has nothing to do with race or your personal beliefs. All right? So you probably don't get it now, but in the morning you will, sis.
It is the morning right now, but either way, I like you, and you guys know that I'm not like if I don't like someone, I'll tell it in their face. I do think you're fair. I like your point of view. I like your political view.
Okay, kumbaya.
Yeah, kumbaya, JB.
Kumbaya. Hold on.
But you
Listen, Sarah.
The guy who was attacking
Sarah, I wasn't here when he attacked you. And if I don't go to fucking Jordan his Jewish privilege, he's gonna have a stroke. Go, Jordan.
Thank you, Mike. So this is the thing. If we have free speech in this once beautiful country, and this is a double-edged sword, right? Because people become hypocrites. If I go up to a white woman, let's say in El Paso, who is 600 pounds, has a club foot, 3 autistic dogs, I'm just using that kind of figuratively, and I start making fun of her, but she also has a Confederate flag, we all get triggered by different things. And this is why you want to try and mitigate opportunities to trigger people, because you don't know what's going to be offensive. We can offend people without even trying. So why offend people when you know something?
I do that, Jordan. I do that every day. Go ahead.
So that's all I wanted to say.
Hey, JB, let me know when you have a second.
I have a second, Sean. Go ahead. Yeah, let's hear your California thinking.
Yeah, I've been in the room when we were talking about systemic racism when CO and SIG were having it out, right? You remember that?
Yes,
JB?
Yes. Go ahead.
Now, I've been on this app for a long time. I just like to get to know CO a little bit better. Where did he come from, and who is he? Because CO, you're kind of new, and I'm like wondering how you suddenly coming out and saying all the things you're saying. What do you represent? I mean, I know that you're definitely not representing Republicans. You're definitely a Democrat. That's super straight and obvious. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better, man.
We're not going to center this around me, man.
Well, we were centering around Sarah, so I thought maybe we could center around you a little bit. I'd like to get to know who the king being in healthy debates is, because you're one of them now.
I won't suck up all the oxygen in the room, man. There's enough people on here for that. Semi-joking. But go ahead and ask me a straight question, Sam, and I'll ask it, and then let's pass it to someone else. Go ahead. What do you have?
Well, that was my question. That was it. Just curious where you came from when you joined Clubhouse. Just wanted to get to know a little bit about you. But I know it's kind of switching subjects. But it seemed like we were centering on Sarah a bit. And you got Truth down here. Hold on. My second question is, we got Truth down here, who's also like your little minion, apparently. Because you need to change your name to False, because you're all false. Everything that comes out of your mouth is false.
Oh, Sean, what's one thing I said that's false?
Oh, sorry.
Your liberalism is a viral virus, bro. You're the left, and I have no problem with Democrats, but you're like extreme left. Are you getting paid? Is someone paying you? Soros paying you and CO to be here?
You're hold on a second. Hold on. Truth. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me address something real quick. Just mute up if you can, please. Sean, let me ask you a question, man. Does it trigger you that I have a strong black man as one of my mods? Does that trigger you?
Not at all.
Okay, so why would you question who he is? What is it your business? If I signed off on him, hold on a second. If I signed off on him, that should be enough. You don't ask the same questions for Vero or Nye. Nye and CO are basically relatively new around me, but I like the energy and I like what they stand for. So I don't understand your question of who is he and why is he a mod in healthy debates. I'll tell you what, Sean, and I say respect, let me finish. Go open a room and pick whatever mod you want. I'm going to pick my squad that resonates with me. But go ahead.
No, I respect you, and all I was trying to say is, JB, you are transparent, and you speak your truth, and you're one of the best mods out there. You give everyone a voice on your stage, for real, for real. and that's what you represent. So, and I know Vero. I know Vero. I definitely know Sig. I know several people.
Yeah, but you know what happens, Sean, you know what happens on these apps?
I've been on this app for over 4.5 years.
Yeah, and so have I. But you know what happens on this app? Rooms, houses, whatever you want to call them, they evolve or they die. You right? So I needed, listen, I'll keep it real. I love Jordan. He's my friend in real life. We could talk to each other all the time. But Jordan's part of the old squad of Healthy Debates. I was the only one on Healthy Debates that was running for months. And I said, you know what? I need people that I resonate with. Now, it's not that I don't resonate with Jordan, but the subject matter that I run, I resonate with them because they have a voice. They have a voice that I can't speak. I don't have that voice. I'm not a black man in America. I like to run these
Jordan? Who's Jordan?
He's the other mod. He's the other token white guy in the room, okay?
Oh, I just was asking. I wasn't trying to attack. But I did want to ask.
Well, listen,
there's a big broad voice that's attacking friends of mine on your stage.
But you know your friends. Hold on, John. Your friends.
They gotta earn some respect on the stage, you know.
Okay, they got my respect, and that's enough. But let me tell you something, man. The people that you're white caping for, Holly, Sarah, I fuck with these ladies, but they say polarizing shit all the time, and they have to be called out. Now, listen, I had no problems with Holly what she said. I don't agree with it. I wasn't here when she was getting punched down on, but rest assured, Sean, she's one of the strongest women on this app, and she'll stand on her square. She don't need some white dude to come up and say, why are you picking on Sarah? Sarah's a racist. I don't care what she says. She can say she's not, but she is. Maybe she doesn't realize she's a racist and it needs to be pointed out. Now, I don't agree with men talking down to women on this app, right? Let her say her racist shit. Let her get off her chest. Wouldn't you rather know who's around you than get surprised by them?
But you just proved my point. I like to know who's around you. When you have beings that I don't know, I like Nye. Nye's cool. CO has been very verbose. Verbose is having. Okay, check this out. CO was having a major debate with Sig, calling Sig out. CO doesn't know Sig from the front to the back. Period. Straight up. Pause. Okay. So, who's CO? You're saying we need to know who we're talking to? Well, I don't know who I'm talking to on your stage except for you, JB, and Vero.
Okay, once again, I'll say this. If I mod them, that means I'm signing off on them, which means I know them, which means I trust them. That's it.
Okay, I respect that.
Whatever discourse happened between CO and Sig, from what I understand, the last, and rooms we ran since that happened, they've been respectful to each other.
It's a little sus when CO doesn't want to say anything about who he is.
Because it's none of your business.
Period.
Well, why does it need business, though, Sean?
You know what? Then, but the thing is, apparently, all of our business is your business.
Only when you come and share it. When you come and share it, this is a social audio app. Look, I'm not CO's defense attorney. He says many things I don't agree with, but you know what? I respect him enough to get it off his chest so we can have a conversation. I'm not going to tone check him.
I have friends in all places on this, JB. So understand me when I say what I'm saying. I'm not being disrespectful.
I understand. I'm being respectful too. But here's the thing. I find it funny that when I bring some new voices into this house, people have questions for them because maybe they don't align politically, racially, or whatever. But I sign off on these people. These are my friends. I fuck with CO hardcore. One day when he feels like sharing his personal business, trust me, you'll be fucking amazed by it.
No, I think he's actually extremely articulate when he was debating with Sig. No cap. I really appreciated listening to the debate, and I enjoyed being on stage listening to the two of them going back and forth for real. So no, I don't know who CO is. I don't know. Maybe he had a different name or a different account because I swear his voice is from there. I'm just trying to get to know CO.
No, that's kind of unfair. I just gotta say, even though you may know me on this app and other spaces, in my thoughts on my culture, we don't really speak about Black issue. You don't know. No one. Nye has never asked, Vera, who are you? Nye has never asked me that. No one has ever asked me that. And these people, you know what I'm saying, they've welcomed me with open arms. I'm asking you to do the same. That's all.
Well, let me say this real quick, CO, and then I'll pass it to you. I apologize to CO and I apologize to Nye, right? Because I didn't give them the heads up that they were going to get blowback as being new mods in Healthy Debates, right? Being a mod is no big deal, bro. You have as much a voice as CO, Nye, Vero, or anybody Green Bean. So I should apologize to him because I knew there was going to be some blowback because I'm tired of hearing the old healthy debates are so great. Shut the fuck up. Things evolve, right? We either move or we die. I'm the only one that's been opening these rooms in healthy debates because Roger has his new house, and Roger's my friend in real life. Kelly, the same thing. But if you have an issue with it, then go to some other house. But what you're going to do is you're going to miss really great conversations. CO?
I'm trying to hit the button. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Hey, JB, I think it's a testament to the authority and the power of your 5-year history on the app, man, that people have a lot of reverence for what you did, the word, what you said. I wasn't here. For whatever it's worth, I've only been on Clubhouse for about 2 months, for whatever it's worth. This whole thing is fucking fascinating to me, man. And happenstance, a couple of people have asked me to jump on and be mods in different rooms because of opinions I've espoused. And I have shared multiple things, Sean B, but I didn't know this was an app. I don't know anybody on any of these stages, mostly, to be honest with you. And
I'll tell you, CO, it's very tribal on this app. If you're new to the tribe, like, who is this guy? How dare he have a voice?
Right. It's so funny. Hey, JB, you ever seen the movie Django?
No, I haven't.
With Jamie Foxx and Leonardo DiCaprio, there's a scene in there with Stephen. He's guarding Mr. Candyland's plantation, and Jamie Foxx rides up on a horse in an indignant way, and he was like, "Who is this nigga on this mare?" And it was this scene, and that's all I could hear as Sean was talking about. It was almost like the audacity of this dude to be intelligent and articulate and be on the stage, and I don't have a background on him. What is going on here? It's just really funny as hell, man. For people who know that movie, you know what the hell I'm talking about. But man, the indignance of a black man to be up on this stage saying his opinion and being articulate about it is crazy. But yeah, no, Soros didn't pay me. I don't get paychecks from anybody. I believe in what I believe in, but I'll just say this one point and then let's pass it on because this is so not about me. Hey, Sean B, I shared some history notes with JB. He knows who I am on some other side in terms of fatherhood and so forth and so on. Maybe I'll give you some notes, but it's so not about me and more about our ideas, man. So I'll just say this, though. This whole concept of the leftists is destroying the world, I'll tell you what, I don't agree with